Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Sunday, all things considering. Welcome to a Sunday overnighter instead of a Saturday because if you've been paying attention to the channel and everything that's going on the last basically 2 weeks or so, just about got the setup done. There's still a little bit of things to move out of the old location, but I've been spending the majority of my time down at the downstairs suite, getting everything set up, and I got just about everything where I needed to be. Let me show you that real quick. Oops, no, don't want to do that. Actually prepared for this. I don't know if I've updated. I know I updated the video, so if you have, if you're watching right now and you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, I put about an 8-minute video on there, just to show you guys what's going on. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and two. Fun. Shorts. There we go. So I'll just give you like a really quick. I won't go through the whole video because we got some other stuff we got to get into. But yeah, there's the setup. Here's me.
This is William from the Sci-Fi Center, coming to you from the Sci-Fi Center, at least the newest location.
It's you don't need to see me.
So
yeah, there's my
whereas we had the Funko wall at the upstage
upstairs.
Really happy to do because
I was really tired.
Previous locations I did not have ceilings high enough to display my posters the way I really wanted to. But we got a lot of posters that we sell, and I was never able to display them without these comics or most of these comics. I finished the absolute
there it is
as far as adding the shelves goes. The original one that we had upstairs had 3 shelves, if I remember right. I've increased it. This one has 6. So it goes from top to bottom, and then back down there will be where we have the back issues. When this is, when I have all these filled up right in order, each of the current absolute titles will have 2 rows in sequence in order. So you'll be able to come in, and the newest ones will be on the shelf, and then the other ones will be down in the box. Right here, I got this started, and this will be the hardcovers and trade paper shelf.
So there you go, my pictures and stuff. So that's what I've been working on. for the last 2 weeks or so. And before we get into anything, we'll go ahead and bring in Brad. So obviously opened up the show with two RIPs. One of them is someone that pretty much everybody in any walk of life has pretty much been familiarized with in his 50 to 60 year career. Now, I have to admit, there's going to be two different perspectives when we talk about the late Chuck Norris. One of them is probably going to be from a martial arts perspective. Chuck Norris being a martial artist, and I don't take this the wrong way, meant absolutely nothing to me. Simply because by the time I even knew who he was already a TV star. He was already a TV star, and I was already seeing him in things that had transcended martial arts. So even in my age group, Generation X, by the time most of us Generation X even knew who Chuck Norris was, he'd already done most of his martial arts actual official stuff, world champions and all that stuff. Didn't even know about that until I got into my 30s. So Chuck Norris to me was the media icon. He was the meme. He was for most of you younger guys, he's a meme making Claude Van Damme look stupid. He's been the butt of good taste jokes of Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes
those are all over the place right now.
Yeah, so he's been that for so long, and yeah, he could do some kicks and flips and do stuff like that. But by that time, most of the world knows him, and to be quite honest with you, most of the living generation knows him from Walker Texas Ranger. That was an immensely popular show that lasted almost a decade, and that was
now seeing, as you'd expect, seeing a huge boost in streaming popularity right now.
And they redid that show. That show had been around long enough to where I think they did another iteration of it without Chuck Norris, didn't they? Yeah. They did like a remake or something like that.
Yeah, well, that didn't really go anywhere.
Well, because the show was Chuck Norris. I mean, the show was Chuck Norris. Personally, I mean, he kind of stayed out of the limelight. He got political towards the end of his life, as a lot of them do. I never really, paid attention to any of that when it came to him. He kind of, he was a little bit of a white ring guy, but not really to the point where it really irritated me or anything like that. He was just Chuck Norris. And he, 86 years old. I forgot he's been around so long. Chuck Norris was old when I first heard of Chuck Norris. So, and I would watch him. I would watch him in all kinds of stuff. I would watch him in, Delta Force. And let's be fair. He was a fragment of the 80s as far as movies goes. He was in some Bruce Lee stuff earlier in the 70s, but he wasn't a star then. Bruce Lee was the star. He was just a guy that was in the movie. In the 80s is where it got
he
really
broke out as like, on his own terms. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
You're talking about movies like Mission Impossible, the series.
Missing in Action.
Mission Impossible. What the fuck? Missing in Action, Delta Force, which these movies weren't great. But you got to understand in the 80s, they didn't need to be. They just needed to be fun. We didn't have when we wanted those deep thought movies, we went to go see those deep thought movies. When we wanted to see people get blown up and beat up, we went to go see things like Chuck Norris or some cop movie, and that's what he provided. I mean, he had a lot of stuff in the 80s that was just Lone Wolf McQuade. I mean, he had a lot of stuff.
I love Lone Wolf McQuade. That one is like, that's like you're talking about the TV show Walker Texas Ranger. That's like that in movie form because he's a Texas Ranger in that, and it's like if you'd seen like an 80s movie version of Walker Texas Ranger, that's what it would be with Lone Wolf McQuade. He also has a funny quote about because of course his first big on-screen moment was the fight with Bruce Lee in the Coliseum, and as Dan DeMann points out with Bruce Lee and Way of the Dragon, which of course that's was very very near and dear to my heart. It was growing up as a martial artist in my training, but then in Lone Wolf McQuade, that's the one with David Carradine as the villain, and of course he was well known for his somewhat controversial portrayal of Kane on Kung Fu, and his own martial arts expertise was not, let's say, on the level of Bruce or Chuck.
It was bad.
Well, no, Chuck has he had a great quote with that. He about working with Carradine, and that said, David
You're
Carradine.
breaking up.
Oh, okay. Hear me now?
I can hear you. You were just fading in and out.
Okay. Well, his quote about from that movie is that David Carradine is every bit as good a martial artist as I am an actor. So clearly wasn't impressed with David Carradine. The first Chuck Norris, even before Way of the Dragon, me personally, the first one I saw was actually. Is anybody here seen one he did called Top Dog? Yeah, that was one he did like in '95. That was kind of like in the sort of like, that was when he was sort of like transitioning out of like the movies more into the TV, into Walker Texas Ranger, into the TV work, and that's where he it's kind of a kids thing where they teamed him up with he's a cop, he gets teamed up with a dog to take down this neo-Nazi group, and of course later on that year, of course, saw Way of the Dragon, and it's like I mean, like William says, like it is his body of work in that time frame between Way of the Dragon and Walker Texas Ranger. His body of work, I mean, it's as 80s cheese as it gets. I mean, it's stuff like, again, like Lone Wolf McQuaid, or Force of One was another one I really liked of his. But yeah, and of course, Day of the Man was, yes, the Chuck Norris facts that really took off in the early 2000s. My personal favorite of all time, my number one is, and again, these are just, you can't get on social media now and not see these in the wake of this passing.
Well, he's at his own funeral too. I saw that one.
Yeah,
he's carrying his own coffin.
Oh yeah, there's one. Steve, my old colleague at Screen Rant, he said that Chuck Norris, and I was joking about this. A lot of people, Chuck Norris, he actually died 20 years ago. It's just that death took that long to work up the courage to tell him. My favorite one of all time is Chuck Norris once urinated in a semi truck's gas tank as a practical joke, and that truck is now known as Optimus Prime.
Yeah. Some of them were kind of ridiculous. Silent Rage was the very first movie I saw him in. Silent Rage, which is
Aaron, the way is right. The Sidekicks, that's getting a lot of love right now. That was kind of like his Karate Kid. Let's go, Phil.
Let's go, Phil. Yeah. So for me, as a kid of the '80s, seeing people do karate in the movies wasn't a big deal, unless it was Bruce Lee, unless it was like someone. And in our era, no, it was Bruce Lee and nobody else. It was Bruce Lee and nobody else. Bruce Lee, and just to realize how much it didn't really have that kind of effect on me, Bruce Lee was, I think I was, what year did he die?
73. You weren't even born yet.
I wasn't even born yet. So Bruce Lee to me was just always some kind of folklore thing. It meant more to my dad. I understood what Bruce Lee was later on in life as I would watch the movies. But as far as what Chuck Norris was good, I didn't realize that he was that great of a martial artist till I was like in my teens, and I would go back and watch some of these movies. And
you didn't die, you beat death to death and became death.
Yeah, so I appreciated him more when I started to see him in the movies. Octagon, Force of One, Eye for an Eye, Silent Rage, Force Vengeance, Lone Wolf McQuaid, Missing in Action. This is when he started to get real. The Missing in Action ones that really broke him through.
Yeah, those are his
Action 2.
That was like basically his Rambo.
Yeah, Code of Silence, Invasion USA was a hit for the 80s. Delta Force was a hit. It sucked, but it was a hit. Firewalker, Braddock, Missing in Action 3. So within 4 years, he had made 3 Missing in Action movies. Hero and the Terror, Delta Force 2, which is absolutely horrible, but it was one of those fun movies.
Aaron suggested I bring this up. That's my pinned tweet on my Twitter. It's like, yeah, Simpsons.
That is the lamest.
I forbid the Simpsons to end until they have done this episode. So get on.
Okay, sure. Now he's dead. So,
so was Bruce Lee.
That's true. Force Warrior, Bells of Innocence, the Dodge. Yeah. So now some of the stuff he did later on, then the last movie he was in, it was Zombie Plane, posthumous release,
But he also had he of course joined the ensemble in Expendables 2, and of course that they really break the fourth where he's like, hey, I heard
he's actually talking about those jokes in that.
What Sly is like, hey, I heard like the Cobra bit. He was like, yeah, after 5 days the Cobra died.
Yeah, one of the few things that was good about
the series.
That is not. Oh, that's a low bar. That's a really low bar. President's Man. So yeah, Chuck Norris,
Chuck Norris doesn't turn the lights on. Well, and of course, like kind of bringing it back to the he was of course was well known. We had a very very extensive background in many different disciplines of martial arts. And kind of bring it back to me in my school that I'm currently in as a student and a coach. I mean, one of the disciplines taught there is American Tang Soo Do, which is he wasn't a practitioner. He was the founder of that. He was, not simply a practitioner. He was the founder of American Tang Soo Do. So that was definitely we had some mourning in the school, for the passing of Chuck Norris.
Yeah, 86 years old. I mean, it wasn't a spring chicken, but I had no indication that he was ill until he went to the hospital the day before.
You see him post videos. He was still like benching.
He was moving. He just did a movie.
Yeah.
Just finished the movie, so.
Yeah, again, it wasn't like in the prime of his life, but still, I mean, by 86-year-old standards, was in fantastic shape.
William Shatner just turned 95, so I guess it takes all. And I don't know, and the cause of death is not known. They have not released the cause of death.
Yeah,
so I don't know what he was dealing with. So
because it was their the headline started with he was hospital. He was taking like a vacation in Hawaii, and he was hospitalized for some undisclosed emergency, and then the next morning we got the news. And kind of bringing it back to Walker Texas Ranger, I'm kind of surprised, like, because you talked about that not really having as much of the martial arts connection. I mean, that show is full of him like throwing kicks and doing.
Yeah, but to me, that show, when did that show premiere?
That was like probably like 94, I think. Let me look
a grown ass man by then. That his influence on me was already set. I mean, by the time Walker Texas Ranger premiere, I had already developed my impression of what Chuck Norris was to me.
It was 90. It was 93 when it premiered. I mean, for 9 seasons, 203 episodes. And actually, also, it had a crossover with the show Martial Law, that Sammo Hung led in the late 90s. That only ran for 2 seasons, but again, they did a crossover with the Hong Kong legend like Sammo. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but to me, I read you off the films in the 80s. If you look at those films, he's doing basic stuff. He's not doing the stuff that he's like actually capable of in those movies. Mm-hmm. And like Missing in Action and all that. Yeah, he does some karate stuff, but he's not. You watch because I didn't see that fight scene with Way of the Dragon for like, I think I was 14. You're not seeing that in those other movies.
Yeah. It's like like Mission in Action. I mean, it's like it's a war movie, so I mean
and all the movies he's in
more firepower, kind of driven.
To be honest with you, to be fair, he wasn't in martial arts movies in the 80s. He was in movies where he was doing some martial arts, like Way of the Dragon. That's a full on fucking 10-minute, 8-minute fight scene. That's literally move for move, and you see him matching Bruce Lee for move. I didn't see that until after I'd seen all these other movies. So he wasn't really. He was Chuck Norris. He was already like a fucking Paul Bunyan to me, as far as like being like a mythical figure, even in the 80s before the memes. And then when I started to realize, okay, this guy's legit got trophies and shit up on his wall. He's not just because in the 80s you had a lot of people that were doing karate, but they weren't martial artists. So I'm like, okay,
we got that now too.
Yeah, you have that now. But this guy was actually a practitioner first. That's what he was first. And I didn't know that because that's what the 80s did. The 80s took you from what you were and made you what they needed you to be.
Well, and I mean, kind of like you said, he also, and this is about like making any like a statement on kind of my own standing on any issues or, Williams either. I mean, like, Norris was active politically. I could tell he was definitely substantially more right of center than I would classify myself as being, but that's really beside the point when talking about like the kind of the reputation he had as being a very, I mean, I've interviewed people who knew him and worked with him, and he's, I mean, person for person, just, I mean, always talk about just just a kind, just respectful, just humble, just great dude he was just to be around. And I mean, that's gotten like in the wake of his death, that kind of has gotten a little bit of a commentary. I'd imagine will probably, be more so as we kind of get further away. But I mean, that's one thing I kind of always think about is it's like I always put it like someone besides someone's politics or where they stand on different issues, like how do they treat people in their day-to-day life? And it's how you conduct yourself. Because listen, the Undertaker is MAGA.
I mean, he campaigned for Donald Trump, and the Undertaker, as far as I know, is not a piece of shit to people. He doesn't treat people like trash. He doesn't, I mean, yeah, is it a perfect world? Would I, but everybody does it. But at the same time, I think the biggest thing about when it comes to politics is how you conduct yourself, and at what point do you draw the line in the conduct that you support. Because just because you support, I know people who supported Trump and then he's gone and said something and then they're like, okay, I can't be on board with that. That's not what I signed up for. And I just, what? I got to allow those people to evolve. I just give them.
By the way, happy birthday, Larry.
So who fucking cares? No, I'm just kidding. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Larry. Wait a minute. You were 43 last year, motherfucker. What the hell?
Well, I wish you a very try birthday, sir.
No such word, and you're not 43 anymore.
Well, kind of bringing that to we were just saying. I mean, you talked about on the show. You got family that are.
Yeah, I got people who are black of hue that are MAGA, and I fucking tear them up. I never miss an opportunity.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I wonder, like, we get like Thanksgiving, Christmas, like what it's especially we're just coming off an election, which we're going to be in November. It's like, oh man, what's it like at Williams like family gathering?
It'll be well, they're mostly they're not like immediate, but I see them every now and then. Reunions and stuff, and they know. A lot of them follow me on my other social media that's not Sci-Fi Center, so they know they have a complete understanding of where I'm at in life. And there'll be that tension because they want to say something, they want to bring it up, and I'm not going to bring it up, but then they just can't resist themselves. Most of the times it's pretty cordial. We just sit and we have it.
I mean, I got family that's more comfortable with the man currently in the White House and people I work with that are again and not strictly white people who are again more comfortable with the man currently in
the
White House.
He's got a lot of people that have about to say something that have subscribed to his theories. I was going to say something else, but hey. All right, what else we got?
Wait, bringing it back to Chuck Norris. Yes, again, like him. I mean, hell of a life, hell of a career. So, but yeah, like as Aaron pointed out, he didn't die. He just beat death to death, and now he has become death. So, watch out for Chuck Norris.
Another person who passed away, who's all over my thumbnail, is Sam Keith. Sam, and at 63. 63 is not old enough, but I was not aware of Lewy body dementia that he had, and that's what he ultimately passed away from. I know he'd been out of the limelight for a little bit, but people come and go. I mean, that doesn't mean that and people are private about what they're going through, so they don't necessarily blast out there. But Sam Keith was a legend. Sam Keith was big. He was big both when I was growing up as a collector and when I was growing up. When I was starting to open a store. He was one of the original artists on Sandman. In fact, I'm pretty sure he did the first 8 issues. I first saw him during his run on the Incredible Hulk. He had a run on the Incredible Hulk where he was almost as defining as Todd McFarlane's run, and that run on Incredible Hulk led to almost everything else he did. He would be one of the group of people that would later go on to Image after he would revolutionize his book. He did covers to Marvel Comics Presents. And his style of drawing was completely exaggerated, and it was based on Frank Frazetta. That was a huge influence for him. Was Frank Frazetta's style of art, and you can see it in the Max. In any of the women he draws, they're really curvaceous, they're really exposed. He is not ashamed to show to accentuate a woman's body or a man's physique, and that is Boris Vallejo, Frank Frazetta textbook right there. This is the Max. I mean, a lot of you will probably know, who don't collect comics will know him from the Max, because the Max was one of those special things that, and we discussed this as one of our comic turning points last year. The Max wasn't just a comic. The Max was therapy for a lot of people. What the Max did, it was the same thing, and this is because he came over from the school of Neil Gaiman when it came to Sandman. Those 2 books were dealing with things that kids were going through. The age group that was buying comics right now that wasn't that wasn't getting what they needed. They wasn't getting that conversation from Batman, Superman, X-Men, Iron Man, those type of. They were getting it from Doll's House. They were getting it from Sandman. They were getting it from Dream Company. They were getting it from the Max. The Max dealt with mental illness. The Max dealt with loneliness. The Max dealt with sexual assault. The Max dealt with murder. The Max dealt with a lot of stuff in the early 90s that was just becoming a forefront. But his style, the things that he did, and that he created that character too. He didn't just he wasn't just an artist on this. He was the actual creator of that character. And that character, if you haven't read the comics, which I recommended you before last year to do, if you're not into reading comics, but you like watching cartoons, you're into animation, they condensed this and they put it on MTV, Liquid Television. You can get it anywhere. You can probably get it on YouTube. And they used his artwork and the way they animated his artwork, because it's his artwork being animated, just made me love that run. It was I think 38 issues. It ran for quite a while until he moved on to different things. But Sam Keith was groundbreaking because of he's along the lines of Todd McFarlane, to where they weren't following the laws of drawing that their predecessors were. They were going to make their guys 10 feet tall if they felt like it. They were going to make their people's bodies do all kinds of crazy things if that's the kind of story that they were trying to tell. They drew visions. They didn't draw necessarily people. They drew representations of what was happening in their stories. And this is just some of the stuff he did. There was a comic that started in 1988 called Marvel Comics Presents, and Wolverine. That was before Wolverine's own title came out, but it was like an anthology. It would have Master of Kung Fu was in there, Doctor Strange would be in there, Hulk would be in there. Wolverine was prominently in one of those things, but he also did a Mean Wolverine too. Right there, this is one of my favorite covers. I don't know if you guys can see that. All right, right there. This one from Marvel Comics. This is one of my favorite Sam Keith covers. It's a Nightcrawler on top of Wolverine, but that's what he did. He made if Nightcrawler was perceived to have been some kind of goblin, that's what Sam Keith made him look like. And it was just this big burly vision of things, and he was perfect for the stories he was telling. 63 years old, that just sucks. I mean, 63 years old, you're going to Comic-Cons and signing. You're showing up. You're probably still creating. But for a young life and a relatively brief career compared to some of the people who move on in their 70s and 80s and still do it, Sam Keith made a huge impression. He made a huge impression. He got, in my opinion, Sandman going along with Neil Gaiman's writing, but it is comic books. Neil Gaiman's writing is great, but it's a visual industry. His art, and that's the one I use for the thumbnail is one of my favorite images of his Sandman. Those were some of the first images of Sandman you got to see. And that's what helped define the character. Everybody who would go on would have their own little style, but they would all come after Sam Keith. So Sam Keith, one of the most influential artists in the mid to late 80s, throughout the 90s and beyond, gone way, way too young at 63 years old. All right. Now that we've gotten that sadness, I mean, not even sadness. Listen, Sam Keith went too young, but I have a lot to celebrate. I am going to choose to celebrate what his imagery meant to me than the fact that he left us too early. In fact, hey, listen, Chuck Norris is 86 years old.
Yeah, it's like that's live that long and you have the career he did, and you have people like the whole fat. It's like his beard is too tough to put in the mouth. Right? It's like that's as full of life as anybody can possibly live.
And then obviously some of the people in the chat, we've lost some people from other Dennis Condrey. I didn't even get a chance to react to this. None of you guys are going to know who Dennis Condrey is. I do, because I watch wrestling. Dennis Condrey was Jim Cornette, Midnight Express. Dennis Condrey and Randy Rhoads, or the Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton were the original Midnight Express. They are if you know what wrestling is and you know what tag team wrestling is, Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express, both versions of them revolutionized tag team wrestling, along with the Horsemen, along with Doom, along with the Steiners. Before any of those guys made it big, before the internet made a lot of these guys huge, Edge and Christians, the Midnight Express, the original versions made wrestling popular in the territory, and Dennis Condrey was one half of that. So I knew who he was immediately, and he was too young. Who else passed? The guy from Buffy, Xandar's dead. I guess he had a lot of health problems leading up to his death. Yeah, it's been a rough fucking week, and it's like 98 degrees out here in Vegas. So, all right. So let's see.
It says he has a third degree black belt running away. Yeah, it's he's having fun because Aaron listing off Chuck's martial arts credentials. Yeah, so he was maybe karate, taekwondo, tang soo do, BJJ, judo. Created American tang soo do, and then created a new discipline called chung kuk do. So yeah, he was
didn't know any of those when I knew.
Now you do. So thanks to Aaron.
Once again, guys, with all due respect to you martial artists out there, that was like not even secondary or third for me when it came to Chuck. He just wasn't any of those things to me. He was Chuck Norris. That's what he was. And yeah, he did some kicks and stuff, but he was Chuck Norris. I appreciate all those things, but he was, like I said, he was Chuck Norris.
He was as the SNL skit, about him about 15, 20 years ago, the theme song they did. I'll put in the chat for you guys. But as the song lyric in that kind of music video states, so a man like Chuck Norris never dies. He lives forever in the children's eyes.
All right. So yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't know. I watched some Bruce Lee stuff when I was a kid, but like I've always said, I will never go to a movie because it's got martial arts in it. I will go to a kick-ass action, horror, science fiction, blah, all that stuff. And if there's some martial arts in it, oh wow, I'm damn sure I'm going to be there watching it. But whereas Brad might go for that, I never went for that. So Chuck Norris to me was folklore already.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, because in Delta Force, he's not doing any of that. In Mission Impossible, in
mistake, man.
Missing in action, he wasn't doing any of that stuff. By the time I started to learn who Chuck Norris was, he was shooting. He was using guns. So there you go. But hey, listen. One guy meant different things to different people. All right. Zach couldn't reach a deal.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing this. Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you about this actually.
Well, the strike is coming. That's just when and how long. That's really all you got to really, I highly doubt that they're going to. I hope they do, because there's a lot of big movies that I'm sorry. Fuck the ad campaign. You're not moving the movies that are coming out. You're not moving Odyssey. You're not going to move Odyssey. You're not going to move Avengers. You're not moving any of these movies because there's a strike. Fuck that. If you need to do your ad campaign for Avengers Doomsday, was all the billions of dollars you made with the previous ones. Odyssey, people know who Christopher Nolan is. He's got his people. He's got an all-star cast. If you go on strike, better not push any of those movies because that's gonna. And if you say, "Well, I love Hollywood, I love the theaters," then nobody needs to be, nobody needs to be moving these movies to 2027 or whatever the fuck because that hurts the industry. Okay, so they're like, it's not even a likely to me, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. The reason why is there's just too many issues that they didn't take care of last time that have only gotten worse. And one of them is going to be AI and residuals and things. You have to work that out. There's no way around that. So
when is this? Like, when could the strike start if this doesn't?
I don't know because they haven't set a deadline. That's
because there are I'm thinking like things that I know Mortal Kombat 2 that you had to shut down production because that was in the middle of the last strike. So and they definitely want to do press for that. I mean, it's the movie that's kicking off the summer, and Supergirl's definitely going to want to do press. But see, here's the problem. They're on strike.
The problem is that fucking release those movies. Because what you're gonna do is you're gonna hurt, just like last time. You're gonna end up log jamming your movies, You're going to sacrifice screen time, and you're only going to want to release them in certain parts of the year. So you're delaying. You already spent that money. Those investors want that cash. But I know they need to push these movies out there. And award season and prestige that means that those awards mean money to studios. So you're gonna screw Dune again?
Ooh, yeah, this one's gonna kill William if that happens. I don't think they will though.
I don't think they will because because of what happened last time, the damage it caused last time. So I don't think it's going to. Because I don't know. They will probably do it anyway because we can't release it without a marketing campaign. I'm like, okay, well now your marketing campaign is going to take place on a time of the year where you didn't even want to release the movie, where nobody's going to the movies. Congratulations. Well, can I suggest when you have on the screen we will. What's up? Can I suggest that when you have on the screen we will begin? Oh. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I thought I was ready, and I couldn't upload the picture of
Droga is asking. It definitely could, because if they're on strike, they can't film. And then, of course,
even though House of the Dragon filmed all the way through that last strike, nobody ever figured out how the fuck that happened.
Really, they did?
Yeah, it did because they filmed in London.
Well, yeah, and also like indie productions are able to get a waiver, or like stuff like A24. Basically, is like it's if you were an indie production, or if you were a studio that was complying with the stipulations of the strike, then you were able to film stuff and do press. But yeah, this could absolutely, and of course, if it gets delayed in filming, then it's going to get delayed in release. And looks like Droga is going to be happy about that, apparently.
It depends on how long it lasts. It depends on and when it happens too. So yeah. Did you see Project Hail Mary?
Yes, I did. I saw it tonight.
Okay, I was going to dump you off the screen if you had seen it. I listen. All film is subjective. We're all going to feel different about the movies. I saw your review when I think you messaged me. I don't know what to say to that. I don't decent is not something I would even award that I would even put near Project Hail Mary. I thought Project Hail Mary was great, but it's all subjective. There's no such thing as a wrong opinion. I thought Project Hail Mary is one of the best movies I've seen in any era, because it takes a lot of things from a lot of different eras and does them better than a lot of those films from those eras did. So, but you know what? Listen, you saw it, you had, your opinion. I can't, I'm not going to assail that position. I know how I felt when I left that movie theater, and that's the way I want to feel when I leave a movie theater. And the same thing that Lord Miller, these guys are working their way into the point where when they're doing stuff, I will be going to see it. Now, they don't have a perfect batting record, of course, but some of the movies that they didn't do well, I didn't see anyway. They weren't the type of movies I want to see. And this is why when everybody who has their heads up the MCU Disney Studios ass when it comes to Miles Morales needs to twist their head even deeper in that ass and just not come out. Because if it's not Lord Miller handling Miles Morales, I don't want to hear about it. And Sony's already been Kevin Feige has asked about Miles Morales, and he got outright rejected, which means that they have their own path headed for them. And judging from the type of movies that that I've seen from them, this is the same people who do the Spider-Verse movies did Project Hail Mary. I think they are in contention for another Oscar, and even though it is a long way down, $5 super chat, William. If the strike happens and it lasts a long time, would actors and actresses still be able to show up to Oscars VMA? I believe so, because those are not union functions. Those are not part of the studio. They're not. They can do things that are not in conjunction with the studio. So, like award shows are not in conjunction with the studio. The studio heads can be there, But like Comic-Con, they wouldn't be able to come to Comic-Con because that is a studio promotion. When somebody shows up at Comic-Con, when James Gunn shows up at Comic-Con, he's showing up on the behest of Warner Brothers and DC Studios. When all these other guys show up, they're showing up at the behest and alongside. An awards show is not one of those things, so they would still be able to show up to those. But the whole thing is, what are they showing up to see if the movies are getting pushed around, which is, I hope they think better of that. Hello, Phil. How are you doing? I'm going to speed past all the joke because I've heard all the Chuck Norris jokes this weekend, guys. It's not that I didn't think they're funny, but I've heard them all.
Yeah, it's like no, it did bring a smile on my face because some of those facts really are so hilarious. Or like what he said, his favorite one was they wanted to carve Chuck Norris's face into Mount Rushmore, but the granite was not hard enough for his beard. He said that was his favorite Chuck Norris. That there were ones like Chuck Norris like counted to infinity twice.
Yeah, and a lot of this started with the whole Claude Van Damme straddling Jeeps or whatever.
They
then he did one with the
together
plane.
actually when Van Damme was first like kind of getting a start in the business. Like they were training partners for like about 2.5 years or something like that. There's actually a video of them.
I cannot stress how awesome the Max TV cartoon is. It's a comic. It really is. And it's got this weird soundtrack to it, this weird music. And especially when they're in the outback, it transitions because if you know what the Max is, there's transitioning between the ancient outback, the Australian outback, and the city, and he's what he is real life versus what he believes he is. And then a lot of it is a coping mechanism for Julie to deal with what she's gone through. And then there's a serial killer in there, Mr. Gone. It's just weird, but it works. But yeah, I think everybody should watch the Max. Everybody should watch the Max. And you should pick up the comics. But one or the other, or both. I would suggest both. Also pick up Sandman. I've stressed earlier before with that regardless to what you may or may not think about Neil Gaiman, doesn't change his work. It doesn't change the influence of Sandman, and Sam Keith was on that.
By the way, real quick, just bring it back to Chuck and Aaron is going to probably dig to.
It's like the only two of you that are going to, but sure.
He's because Steven Seagal was during his time at the top, which was not that long. He was notorious for like trash talking other like action movie guys and. One of them, like Chuck was like, there's this interview I'd seen where like at one point Chuck was asked about that. And he's very diplomatic and like said like, oh, Chuck is like he's just really full of, or Chuck said Steve is really full of himself, and that's not how martial arts conducts himself. But yeah, Seagal had he was not like well liked in that crowd.
He's not well liked in any crowd. It's fine. I'm sorry, Russian. He's the Russian.
Well, just with one person, Russia, really.
It's the only guy that matters there. William, have I reassessed where Project Hail Mary ranks in my science fiction pantheon? I am starting to. It doesn't beat Blade Runner or Blade Runner 2049. But there are different reasons that it would never. They kind of like are parallel, but they mean two different things. Blade Runner is part of a religion that got continued for me. Something I grew alongside with and was capped off with what we are going through now. Project Hail Mary is a different movie. It does. You could name like 10 science fiction movies that are really good, but they fail somewhere. There's something that they don't do. The pacing is bad. There's people in there that I don't care about. And that goes to horror movies. And I give you Weapons for saying Weapons wasn't a bad movie, but it lost me in the sequence of the movie. There were characters that were absolutely worthless to me. And the pace of the movie, in my opinion, stopped once Aunt Gladys came in and basically pulled off her Scooby-Doo mask.
And guess what? It was still the best horror movie of 2025.
In somebody's opinion, it wasn't. But anyway, that's distracting. When you look at a movie that's much regarded like 2001: Space Odyssey, that's considered a great movie, right? It bores me to tears. I would rather bang my head against this keyboard for the exact time that it takes for that movie to process through.
Well, that's gonna get you killed. You do that.
So, but if you look at, Star Wars, all these movies, this movie, and like I said in my I don't know if I said it in my review, but it's outright. One of the things that turned me off about Christopher Nolan's movies is not the quality. The quality is always there. It's the out of sequence storytelling. Most movies will ruin it for me trying to do flashbacks. Each time you do a flashback and it's not done right, I care less about the character that you're trying to augment. That doesn't happen here. Everything that is told in a flashback and in an out of sequence moment is there. And it's done right. It augments and it supports what's going on the screen. How did the teacher end up in outer space? They show you. You're a brave guy. No, I'm not. And now we're talking. We're gonna go talk spoilers when it gets time. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. So when we actually move over, I'll answer a couple more chats. But as where it ranks in my pantheon, that's an ambiguous number. But I will tell you, it's one of the best movies I've seen. Period. It is one of the best movies I've seen. Period. The story works. There are no wasted characters in there. There are no wasted moments. There are people in this movie who are not in the movie for very long that have a huge impact on this film. Some of the things that happen, I mean, how he gets on board the Hail Mary is kind of fucked up. It's really fucked up. It's the right thing. It has to happen, though.
Yeah, but it happens through means that most people would not approve of anyone who has a moral compass.
But they couldn't have one. She was 100% right. They couldn't. The world was dying. One of the cool things about, and this is Ryan Gosling's best role.
I think we're pretty much just going into our thoughts on it. Okay.
This was Ryan Gosling's best role. This is the role in the movies that I've seen, the chick flicks and shit that he's in. Those are disqualified. But of the movies I've actually sat through with him in it, this is the most range he's ever shown. This is the most range of emotions he'd ever showed. The character he plays is Dr. Grace. He's a school teacher. He's a school teacher, but he's pretty smart. He's got these theories, and he's approached by these, this global group of scientists. And to help develop, because Earth is dying, there are these parasitical things that are killing the sun, that are killing stars and going from one star to another. Our sun's a star.
Yeah, if we don't fix that, Earth is going to freeze in about 30 years.
People are going to starve, and they lay out a doomsday scenario, which is scientifically right. They developed this crew. They developed this whole thing. He designs and helps them helps them along, and he's basically going to go back to being a teacher. There's an accident that happens. That kills most of the crew and all the backups.
And so he's not an astronaut. He's make that clear. He has no he's a teacher. He's not trained at NASA to go into space. Now,
there's these two astronauts, and then there's him, and it takes three of them to go up in space. So he basically has to go up there. He doesn't want to. And this is where I think the range of his character shows. He shows the genuine fear that most of us would if you laid all out on us. That's a lot. You went from being a guy who is going to help advise in this mission, and now you're going on it. And let me preface all this. This is all a suicide mission. They do not have enough fuel to for any of them. Anybody who's volunteered for this mission, they have enough fuel to get to this one star where the phenomenon has not affected the star. They have enough there to get the samples and whatever they need and to send it back home, but they do not have enough energy to.
So imagine being pitched on that. It's like, you got to save the world, but you don't get to come back to it.
Now, all the astronauts were committed to that. They have no problem with that. And that's one of the cooler things about the movie is that there's a camaraderie that's built amongst the astronauts, the people who are going on this mission, the people who are supporting it. They have accepted that. They have accepted that the cause that they're going for is much larger than their longevity, and they're okay with it. He's not. So what ends up happening is when the head doctor, Dr. Strat, basically shows up to him and says, we need you, to go on this mission. He says, no,
it's basically, we're not asking you, we're telling you now.
well, they don't do that till later. And he said, no, I can't do that. They ask him, and then he has a couple hours to give him his answer. And his answer is no. His answer is reasonably no. And she's stretching to him the world ending things. He's like, yeah, but if I go there, it's a one-way trip, I'm die. It says, if you stay here, you'll die.
And that's what he says, where it's like, I mean, yeah, so what difference does it make to me?
But and then she basically drugs him.
They kidnap him. They kidnap him and throw him in the spaceship and say, okay, take care of it. Worse.
What ends up happening, it's one of the funnier things in the movies. He realizes he sees
run out of the room.
Yeah, he runs up the bookshelf and comes down, and then he's running. And they knew he was going to run, so they were waiting for him. She picks up the phone. Yeah, he's running.
And he almost gets away.
There was one guy there, Carl, who he develops a friendship with. He helps, he's one of he's like an agent that helps him get to stuff, and he's befriended him. And as he's losing consciousness, he's like, you know who you are. You're going to do just fine. And even the doctor, the head of the project says, you don't think you can do this, but when you have to, you will. So they drug him and they give him something that wipes out his memory. And that's where the movie begins. The movie begins with him waking up on a ship that's come out of orbit. And
he's not immediately pissed off at them because, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. He is kidnapped to do this.
Now, the movie starts off on a somber note, and then because automatically the two astronauts that you haven't seen yet, because it's told out of sequence, they're dead. And he gives them a funeral. And he knows who these people are, but because of the drug that's wearing off, he can't remember, but he knows that their lives were important, and he gives them a space burial. And then these memories start to come back to him. And as the movie goes on, he starts to realize, why he was sent. These are, the memories of the kids he was teaching, those things. And he eventually comes into proximity of another ship.
Of a big bundle of sticks floating in space. That's what it looks like anyway.
Yeah, and it can change shape. It can dock with his ship, and he goes. There's communication starts by him sending these little models to him, and that's when they realize that they're on the same mission. Mm. Then they meet.
Yeah, and then he meets Wilson. I mean Rocky, excuse me.
And I think that if you haven't seen the movie, I can sort of forgive Crypto and Wilson references and things, the sidekick reference, if you haven't seen the movie, and you're just, saying some shit. But if you've seen the movie, there is no sidekicks in this movie. They are equals from the moment that they begin to communicate, and he has to use a laptop and he uses echolocation because Rocky can't see you. He sees echolocation, so he can see. He's kind of like Daredevil in a way.
Visual, yeah, they show you what he sees, so you get like, you see a little bit from his perspective. And I mean, we were talking the other night about how you would see it. I hadn't at the time, where you talked about like this is like this. I mean, the comparisons made to Castaway, including it immediately jumped to my mind like the first scene when he wakes up. It's his appearance is very like reminiscent of Tom Hanks in Castaway with the the beard and the long hair, and with the relationship he develops with Rocky, like you said, this is it's equivalent to like Castaway if Wilson was like actually like an active like partner or like somebody he was like, if Wilson was actually able to help, like the joke I tell of when he's like trying to start the fire, you wouldn't have a match, would you? It's like, this is like if Wilson had a match.
Now, where those comparison ends is when you start to understand that they are on the same mission, and when they start talking about each other's crews, and how there was a crew of 3. The other 2 died, and then Rocky says, I had a crew. There was 26 other ones with me, and they died radiation poisoning. And that, to me, is a very important part of the movie, because that builds a relationship that neither one of them wants to sacrifice. They are committed to each other. Rocky is committed to the mission and to, A, not letting Grace die, and B, getting him home. And Grace is committed to him. He fucks up his whole mission. Not his old mission, but he risks his old mission. And once there's a scene in there where, now we've already discussed the fact that there wasn't enough energy for Grace to get home, and they're having this conversation to where Rocky has used the same way to get out there, but he has enough to get both of them home.
Yeah.
And he says it'll add 4 years onto our mission. And then Grace is like, you do that? Yeah. I watched 27 or 26 die. Could not fix. Gracie needs to get home and there's a lot of that goes on to the movie. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to mention. Yeah, it's like the whole thing about this being a one-way trip for Grace, and that doesn't sit well with Rocky because again they're on the same mission, so he's prepared to kind of elongate his trip home to help out Grace. But then there's other complications that sort of arise. That are we going to spoilers yet?
Yeah, we can do spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. All right, so if you have not seen Project Hail Mary, we're gonna talk spoilers because it's been.
And of course, Drogo wants to know is better than 3. Well,
I wouldn't even. Why did you even bring that up?
He's just 7 fun. I know.
Joe, you wonder why I passed so many of your comments by.
Sly is not in this movie.
Technically, he is.
Well, yeah, that is true.
Not any meaningful.
But he didn't film any scenes, but like the Rocky name, let's say, is exploited in like.
Well, then there's parts of the movie. Yeah. They're literally watching Rocky as he's trying to explain to him who Rocky is, and Adrian. He names his girlfriend Adrian because he has no words for their good name. He does it. The little sound thing.
That's actually a big part of kind of their relationship because he uses his laptop to as an interface for them to be able to communicate. Like when Rocky talks, it translates it for him. And then there's multiple points where he'll say like I'm going to sleep, and like Rocky's saying like, well, what's sleep? And he's like because of the not everything directly translates between their two languages. He has to kind of find ways to sort of provide detail, like, okay, here's what sleep means, or here's why when he's, or he'll say like when it looks like, oh yeah, it's like I'm not going to make it home, I've made my peace with that. It's like, what does that mean? He lays it out. So that was something I really kind of enjoyed in their relationship, with when he's having to kind of explain some of the colloquialisms of a human language compared to because he's talking to an alien.
And I'm not going to read the book. I don't think there's anything a book could give me that this movie did not. But I was watching Robert Bryan Burnett because the process of their communication was a lot more into it than what the movie gave us. But I thought the movie gave us just enough, and we took what we needed for granted. Can they, if they pick at the lines at the award shows, they're not going to pick at the award shows because those are not studio events. William, just saying a joke, but Expendables is good with Chuck Norris inclusion. I didn't think Expendables 2 was bad. What I will continue to say about Expendables 2 is that anybody who watched that movie, including the people whose jobs depended on the next one and the next one after that being good, should have known that the plane was running out of fuel and you were barely going to make it to the landing.
Best of the series.
That movie wasn't. Hold on. I'm answering his question. That movie wasn't good enough for a 3, even if you liked it. That movie wasn't. There, some things just have an end, and they just wrung whatever out of that. I'm not saying it was a bad movie. And best of the series, that's like I said, that's not a high bar. But 3 sucked, and 4 was fucking garbage. So I have 2 to thank for that. So that's how I feel. So yeah. But thank you for the $2 super chat. And yeah, I don't think they will be picketing because those are not studio events. Those are actually events put on by AMPAS and the guilds. The guild, like the Screen Actors Guild and the directors, the DGA. Those are actually parts of the unions. They put those shows on, so they won't. I don't think now they might not invite the executives there. But I don't think that you would run the risk of that. That's just what I believe to be right now. My favorite parts of this movie is, they're all good, but when they're getting the samples, and obviously with any movie like this, it becomes a disaster. The ship starts spinning out of plays. He loses. He untethers himself. He has to grab the specimen, which you think he's going to lose, but he gets it. But he's injured getting back into the ship. And now this character Rocky is from a planet called Aaron, and he can't live in our atmosphere. He can't live in an Earth-like atmosphere. It'll burn him up. It'll kill him. And so he's in this little Rubik's Cube glass case thing that allows him to move around. He gets out of that. He gets out. He punches through that and risks his ass to drag Grace to the little robo automated surgeon doctor and save him. And now if you read the book, you obviously you knew everything was going to end up okay. But if you're watching the movie and the way they do this movie and the score, everything that's happening at this, these guys are both dealing with loss. So loss and loneliness. So it's a very real, especially with it being shot out of sequence, that Rocky could perish right there and then. Even if you don't think he will, they went far enough to make you think that, hey, this guy just sacrificed, himself. And it is relevant because when Grace has a chance to get home, he realizes that these specimens, and what these specimens were, was they were trying to figure out why this particular star wasn't dying, and they figured out it was an ecosystem. The things that were killing the Earth's sun and Rocky's star were things that were without predators. This one star had a predator for them, so if they were able to isolate that predator organism, they could save their stars. But because they used part of the things that made up Rocky's ships to contain them, they adapted and were able to eat through those containers, and that almost doomed the mission and brought him out of, safe. And he realizes that those same specimens are on Rocky's ship, and Rocky's ship is completely made out of those containers. So he wouldn't know what was going on. So he has a decision to make, and it's one of the cooler points of the movies to let his new friend die alone or die at all or go back home. And you start to get the sense that his home, even the doctor said it, you're perfect with this mission. You don't have any family, you don't have any loved ones, you're all alone. And she says it in kind of a cold way, but it's kind of true.
When kind of his rebuttal to that is so you, and I mean, I guess apropos, it's funny we're just talking about Expendables 2, like I've used this term, but he asked him straight up, was like, so you're hiring me because I'm expendable. It's like I have the knowledge and I'm expendable.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have had that explosion not happen. She wouldn't have done it, but they had to. So he goes back and he turns around, he finds the ship, and then there's this intense moment to you where you don't know of Rocky. I didn't read the book. They did a good job of, even when they did things that had predictability to them, you were still wondering, are they going to do this way? And then Rocky comes bouncing through, and they fix everything. He ends up going back to Rocky's world, and they use his laptop, all the knowledge he has about Earth, to build him a atmosphere, a force field to live in. And he's on the beach, and they're talking about. And I just like my review of it, my detailed spoiler review is not going to be the greatest because there are certain points of the movie that really grabbed me and held me. This is a long ways away from the Oscars, and we still Doom 3 looms large, and Odyssey and all these other movies that'll be out there. But from where I'm sitting, I felt the same way about Oscars chances when I left Sinners last April. And then, you know what? I turned out mostly having the right feeling about that, especially when it came to Michael B. Jordan. One battle after another. I'm sorry. That is up there with Slumdog Millionaire territory as far as best movie goes, which means not really deserving, but hey, that's fine. But Michael B. Jordan, all that, I could see Ryan Gosling being heavily considered here. His range of, and he plays a character, and it's similar to the character that Jim Carrey plays, not in circumstance wise, but it's similar to the character that Jim Carrey plays in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. You start out with just this guy is just a basic dude. He's just going through the motions, and then he evolves within the movie. He's not the same Grace that starts out this movie. He's the kind of guy who would probably do, if somebody came and told you, hey, you're going to space and you're not coming back, You're gonna do, and it didn't hurt his character. The fact that he did exactly what a lot of us would do. He fucking ran. Given those circumstances in that short of time, he did what a lot of people would do. A lot of people will lie to you and say, "Well, I would have just stood up and been a man." No, he wouldn't have. Everybody's got self-preservation. They were committed to the mission. They saw things in a much larger spectrum than he did. He saw himself as helping out. The mission. They truly believed in their mission. And when that scene with all these astronauts, this is before the explosion. There's a scene where they're all partying, and then he's looking at them party, and he sort of envies them because even though they are doomed, even though they know they're not coming back, and they actually joke about that, they're together, and there's a cause that is bigger than them. He's never had that. He gains that throughout the movie. And there's a karaoke scene there I thought was hilarious. And I thought was, if you told me that this kind of movie was going to have that kind of karaoke scene, I'd be like, okay, this is kind of, what are we doing here? But it was because this character, Dr. Strat, was so committed to the mission that she had lost all of her human connection till this mission was about to happen. And she realizes what these people were about to sacrifice. So, and he's asking about this. He's like, you don't have any friends, you don't have any family, you don't have anything. This is just a mission to you. These people kind of like, they don't mean that much to you. He's like, no, they mean everything to me. She just never expresses it. So she sings. I forgot what she sings, but she sings, and everybody's shocked because this character has just been the doctor. I thought that moment was cool. I thought every time Rocky was on the screen, he dominates the screen, and he actually, this little 5-legged rock thing, brings out the best in Ryan Gosling's acting. He has to reflect off of that character. And that once you realize that this character is not just some pet, not just some sidekick, this movie doesn't have any resolution without him. The Rocky figures out more shit than Grace does. He figures out stuff, and he knows a little bit more about the universe because he's a space traveler, whereas this is Grace's first time out there. And he's also an engineer. How they problem solve together to get to where they're going is kind of cool. And I think I made a post. This movie and Into the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, this has a Lord Miller signature to where it starts out with loneliness until the principals find each other and realize that there is a common cause. And if you look at with Miles Morales, when he gets his powers and he loses that Spider-Man of his universe, he's all alone until he's not. Till there are other Spider-Man from other universes who all thought that they were alone, and then they came together. This is sort of what that feeling was like watching this. You can't get any lonelier than these two. Totally different languages, totally different worlds, but they're all here for this same mission. And how they figure it out is based on that. And neither one of them want to let the other one die or let the other one down, to the point where Rocky risked his life to leave the safety of his atmosphere to not just save the ship. Could have done that anyway, but to save him. And then this guy who was, he was the whole thing. The reason why he ran is I'm never going to see my home again. I'm never going to have a normal life again. He has that staring him right in the face, but he couldn't let Rocky die. And I thought that was just the whole movie was, in my interpretation of it. If you need to go see the movie to understand why these things. If you liked Beyond the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse was never coming out, I guess. I don't know. But if you like the camaraderie with those people of those movies, something's going on with your mic. I just muted it while I was talking. If you like the basis of those movies, I think you're gonna love Project Hail Mary. I thought it was a great movie. What were your thoughts about the movie?
So it's again, I haven't read the book, but like everything is about Ryan Gosling's range. I mean, this is probably the most range I've seen him. It's not even like a knock on any like prior work he's done. It's just that this really kind of gives him the foundation to really like show his range and his capability. And the scope of it is pretty of the story. this movie really captures like the enormity of like what he's being asked to do. Again, he's this high school science teacher, and what begins as like this, okay, I'm going to be like this in this advisory capacity on this mission to save Earth from destruction, and like it ends up all being on his shoulders involuntarily. he's yeah, like it says, like, you get
You're breaking up again.
Shoot you in space against your will, you get something you did.
Wow, it's worse. It's worse now.
Is that better?
Say keep saying something.
Okay, so yeah, it really captured the enormity of like
What mic are you using? What are you using? The
yes.
Which one? The one in front of you or the?
This one right here.
Oh, I thought you had the other one set up because you're gonna have to. You're fading in and out like a CV. I don't know if it's because it's going away from your face. Go. All right, there you go.
Here, Forces just let the Rock die. It's alien. Well, I mean, it would be tempting for like you to just you're in the situation just dismiss it like I got this rock creature I run into. It's like,
but he couldn't though. He couldn't. That's the thing about it. He couldn't. Neither one of them could let the other die. That's what was one of the coolest things about the movies is they both had a path home, and they were not. It wasn't just more about the mission anymore. Whereas on Earth, it was all about the mission. Now it's about the mission and each other. That was my friend, and I was not gonna let my friend die. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, like a lot of my favorite scenes were like him kind of as I mentioned earlier, like him kind of translating or explaining the language barrier between them that still kind of exists even when he has the laptop there to interpret for him. Again, he'll say it's like I'm going to sleep, or it's like I'll say this, say that. So he has to, the way that he kind of has to fill in the blanks on some things, and just the bridge that creates between them. That really that was really some of the best work as far as like they're fleshing out their relationship in it. And do we want to go into the ending scene at all, or do we want to kind of leave that unspoiled?
I mean, it's a spoiler review.
Okay. So basically it's like, so long story short, they complete the mission. They've sent the kind of the formula or equation back to Earth. Sorry, just had to sneeze there. Back to Earth, to save fix the problem that's happening with the sun, and Rocky's made this this dome for him to kind of survive in back on his planet, and he gets the news like, oh, we've found a way we can actually send you back home, but he's kind of re-entered his old profession. He's a teacher, a human teacher now to the other kind of little rock critters on this planet. I don't know if did you get the same impression I did, where the movie does actually kind of leave it up in the air about whether or not he actually decides to stay there or go home?
It does, but for me, no. It does technically, but to me, no. And it was the whole point of the movie. The whole point of the movie is right there. Where is home? Where is home? What is a family? Because see, you learn this, like if you ever deploy with people, say you go halfway around the world with people, right? And you spend time with them, and you end up, or you're in a profession to where you're not at your physical just, but you're with people that you work with and that you like spending time with. Where is home? And I always think of it this way. Your house, your dwelling, your address is where all your stuff is. It's where your mail goes. Home is the place you fight to get back to every day. And that doesn't necessarily need to be your address. Home for him was teaching kids full circle, like he did at the beginning of the movie. Teaching is what he liked to do, what he loved to do, and being of importance. He's teaching there. He didn't have anybody on Earth. He got everything he needed. He was able to save Earth because they sent those samples back. But when he was needed there on that planet, he was once there. And when Rocky said, "Hey, do I have? I think I might take a little bit of time." And Rocky said, "Take a lot of time," because all those little rocky rock things, there's the alien people, wanted him there. He was welcomed there. And that, to me, the ambiguous of that question, to me, is where is home? What is he going back to on planet Earth that he didn't have there on that planet? So I think, yeah, it leaves it open-ended. But for me, to answer your question, Rational, I think the whole point of the movie is that he was developing a home. He was headed to the only home that really matters to him in the planet Earth. That's how I saw it. But they did leave it open enough. What did you think, Brad? Did you think it? What did you think the choice he might have made?
Yeah, that was kind of where I landed too. Is that he completed the mission. His perspectives had changed with his relationship with Rocky. So that's where I kind of landed. Is that he's going to be sticking around on this new alien world because that home is home is what he's doing. Is being a teacher. So he's found that he's refound that with through his journey across 800 million light years.
Okay, this is the most I've heard William talk about any movie. Granted, I talk about
it's going to get a lot more. I mean, it's apparently this is the so far this year is the biggest opening weekend. So
and I was worried about that. I was really, really worried about that because I don't think this had the best ramp up. I wasn't on board with going to see this movie until the Super Bowl trailer. I had not heard. I mean, I had heard that he was working on something. The book. I don't read books anymore. I read comic books. Sorry. I'm not a big novel guy that much anymore. So Project Hail Mary. I heard the way I even heard about this movie because I watch Campy every day, and they were counting down. Robert Meyer Burnett was super excited about this movie, and so I was keeping an eye out for trailers and everything else. I wasn't going to read the novel. And there are two movies that I really, really liked that came out in the last 15 years. I thought Gravity was one of the better movies. And it's my favorite Sandra Bullock movie. And then The Martian. But it's better than both of those movies because there are things about The Martian that drag. And because they have to, because of the solitary nature of the character. And there's not a lot to work with when you're talking about. She's completely alone. She's not building camaraderie with anything because she's a hallucination of George Clooney. Spoiler alert: he's dead. Is what's carrying her through? Whereas this movie, there's something being built there. So no, but I've talked about Blade Runner 2049. I've talked about a lot of movies. I think this is because this is the latest one I've seen and the latest one you've heard me talk about. But I will if it does sound like I'm talking about it more than usual, is because it's better than most movies I've seen in a long time. It's better. There's only a couple of movies that I would even put in this category that I've seen in the last 15 or 20 years that were that movie. And the reason why I can say that is because all the other movies, they have something in it that, doesn't kind of takes it down a notch. There's not much here you can poke. I mean, if you didn't like the movie, it's not for you. That's one thing. But if you were into this type of movie, then this movie had everything for you. It had every emotion that you needed to have to push the story in every direction you needed to go. It had you on the edge of your seat, even though, most times the hero, and his sidekick or whatever, type of situation make it out. This wasn't a hero. This wasn't a sidekick. These were just two people caught in a situation just trying to get out of it and get back home. And I wasn't sure, to be honest with you, that they were, just because it's based on the book doesn't mean. We've seen books that have drastic. Hell, The Long Walk. The Long Walk has a dramatically different ending than the book does. So just because something happens in the book doesn't necessarily mean. I had people there with me at the pre-screening that read the book and were not sure that everybody was going to make it out alive. That's how well the story flowed. That's how, when the stakes were high, they made it. And it's a beautiful movie visually. I how I feel about IMAX. I go see movies on the screen that's available to me. But this is one of those ones where, especially during the spacewalk and some of the bigger scenes, and the reason why I think that you have to see it on that type of screen is because you feel the weight of what's going on. They do a good job of putting you in his position. He's your human avatar in this movie. What you in the entire time, you could tell people when they're sitting there watching this, and the people I talked to after, we were all talking immediately. What will we do in his situation? And that's what the movie does the entire time. It puts you in it. I would be flying out of that place. I don't know if they would have caught me in order to give me that drug. I'm getting away. Everybody thinks, well, I would be brave enough. You don't know. You don't know until the situation, and it turns out that they were right, that he was the right guy for the mission, that he did have the bravery enough to do it. He did have the stones to do it. He did have the ability to act when the situation looked like it was lost, to be able to recover and do it. So he even says that in the movie when he sends back the information to the doctor who sent him out there, you were right. I don't, still don't forgive you for doing that to me, but you were right. There was, they saw in him things that he didn't see. And that happens a lot in these movies, but there's a lot of tropes, but they're just executed well here. So, yeah. We're talking. They produced them. They wrote them. Those are their movies. When that movie won the Oscar, who did you see up on the stage? Let me see. Let's see. All right, let's see. I don't know where the hell Brad went, but screenplay by Lord Miller, story by Lord, produced by Lord Miller. Yeah, you got Avi Arad and Amy Pascal, but they're just administrative. Yeah, that's their movie. And there's no way. I'm sorry, you can't see. There's a that's a Lord Miller movie, and this one is, and you could see the common threads that go through them both. Let's see, media. Yeah, that was their baby. That was their project. I'm really bothered that you have her name up there. You corrupted her name. I can't even tell who it is. Funny thing is, I thought this movie came out months ago. I remember seeing the trailer over a year ago. I didn't even see the trailer a year ago. I didn't even see. I did not really make a connection with this movie until the Super Bowl trailer that we were watching that day. That's where I think that's why I was worried about the box office, because I didn't feel that this was a movie that they were pushing out there. And then I'm glad. I'm happy that my worries were relieved, because it deserves that opening.
Yeah, it opened. Its opening was 141 million, which again, that's the biggest opening weekend thus far this year. So, yeah, and for the word of mouth on it seems to be pretty phenomenal. So, yeah, I think I kind of see, I can see like a comparison being made to like Sinners as far as like the time of year it's released and like the level of acclaim, making it very much a kind of a heavy favorite at the Oscars next year.
Yeah, now Rational, you are right. They even tell him we can get you back home. To me, once again, I'm going to go back to the I think it was your previous question. I don't think he wants to. I think he found home. Just to look on his face, them talking to each other on the beach like that. How's the sky? How's the food? They were able to make food for him. They were able to make, they welcomed him there. Look at where he was at the beginning of this movie. For those of you who've seen it, he's an outcast. He's basically working at TV that job because he got fired for something. I forgot what he said he got fired for. But he wasn't. He liked teaching kids. He liked teaching. He liked, and that's what he got to do. And he, at no point did you figure, if it wasn't for the fact that he wrote that paper that doctor went and hunted him down for, who was wanting this guy? Mark got his girl, and that was hilarious. I hate Mark. That was hilarious. But his conversations, I think the most important parts of the movies are the back and forth conversations between Rocky and him about what was your like at home, what was your like back on this planet, and you start to see that even though they are not, you look at them There's from different worlds, different species. They found the way to make that work. And it tells you that, despite appearances, everybody's fighting their battle, and that's a theme of the movie. There's a plushie. I saw Film Junkie repost it.
Oh yeah, this is so merchandisable with Rocky.
Which is weird because he's a basic design. It's a rock with 5 legs. That's really what it is. And it's dumb that he keeps getting wrong. All right, you guys are talking about Demolition Man.
Yeah, another sci-fi classic.
I'll probably ask William what version to watch when I'm ready. Version of what?
What of I mean, as far as I know, Project Hail Mary. This is the only version there is. So.
I'm not discrediting the directors. That was a Lord and Miller project. They were the engines beyond that. That's why they got the Oscars. That was their project. So was Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse. Those were their projects. I mean, it didn't win, well, you don't have a best director for animated, but that was their project. That was their story. The main driving force besides the animation when it comes to those two movies was the story. That's the spine of the whole movie. That is their story. I'm not discrediting the directors, but when the common factor, who directed? Was it the same director for Across the Spider-Verse? Because I think they changed it up.
Yeah, I think it was the same.
Across the Spider-Verse. But once again, it's them writing the stories. They are basically the showrunners. No, okay, so this is not Joaquin Dos Santos, but written by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, produced by Phil. I mean, it's their. I'm not discounting the directors, but it's their show. And no, those are two different directors for both of those movies. What's the common thread between those movies, Drogan? I'm sorry, I'm not just knocking them. It's their project. And I guarantee you, when it's time for Miles Morales to take that next step, they're going to be the top 2 names. They're not going to call these other guys. They're going to call those guys. Those are the handlers. Don't take it the wrong way, son. Have I seen that Daredevil was clearly edited out? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. People were saying it's Miles Morales, and I'm like, stop.
The Hand. Oh, come on. The Hand or bad guys. You're telling me Daredevil isn't in it.
So yeah, I saw that, and they didn't even that. I love the way Sony and Marvel market these movies. They don't fucking care anymore.
Yeah, it's where they again. It's
you're gonna come see our movie or you're not. We dare you to not come see our movie. Is what they're saying.
Yeah, and pun intended in this case.
Yeah,
but it's the same thing as like with No Way Home, with like this shot of like Spider-Man like swinging towards like this group of enemies, and there's like someone.
And then the Sandman's face gets knocked out, and you're just like by thin air. It's like, but to Sony's and Disney's credit, they tacitly they weren't trying to, and then they told Andrew Garfield, come on.
It was the most open secret in the history of open secrets. Now Warner goes like, it's Charlie Cox. It's not going to be him on this one, where he's the guy like denying up and down, like, no, I swear I'm not in this movie.
Well, no, he already fucked it up. He already gave up the goose and had to go back. Yeah, I think Brand New Day is going to make a lot of money.
Of course,
I think, and Campia, I've been watching a lot of Campia because I'm watching him as I'm building the store, so that's why he's not too far off by thinking that Marvel may have $2 billion movies this year. There's a possibility that you could have, because the last one. Well, No Way Home almost pulled into
that far away from $2 billion.
The last Avengers movie almost did 3. So I wouldn't be, and the whole doomsday thing ain't gonna hurt nobody. And people are they're gonna move one. Neither one of them are going to move, and neither one of them should move. I cannot wait for that chaos and craziness when those 2 movies get released. right. That's about all I had. I had a good week. Got this. I got my store almost ready to open. Now I have to work on those Star Trek and horror areas. But with that, getting that main store done is a big deal. So sorry if you guys have missed me the last couple of Saturdays. That's once I get rolling. I go in the morning thinking, you know what, I'm going to do a show at 8:00. But when you start getting one thing done after another, and you start to get on a roll, you just don't want to stop. You know,
that's what William told me last night. We called. He gave me, and we talked, and he said, "Yeah, it's like he's just like he's, he's at the 95-yard line or the 95-yard line as far as finishing up or the 50. I never get it right. It's like
he's really the 1 yard line. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, the 1 yard line and finish up the move. And he said, "Babe, it sound like 15, 16-hour day." You were pulling it. That's like, man.
Yeah, I got there at 10, and I left at 1:30 the following week, or however many hours that is. But when you're getting a lot of stuff done and clutches of time,
when you're that close, then it's like
I'll throw on people's shows. Like I watch there's like a wrestling podcast or YouTube show that I watch.
TV in there, so it's like easy to have stuff on the background to kind of.
I'm up on a ladder. I'm down, bolting in things. I'm moving stuff from top to bottom. But I have things going on in the background. So I've listened to like every YouTube show that I regularly listen to. I listen to a couple of our shows, because I do watch our shows to see where I can improve them. Yes, they are several. There is a helmet. There's Rocky. There's a bunch of them. And but his helmet is one of them. I think I'm going to get that one. It's like $50, but I'm going to get it. They made a lot of them, so they're not like going to be like gouging for them.
Are there any of like the bundle, again, like all the ship, Rocky ship? To me, looks like a big bundle of sticks floating in space. It's like
they're online. They're online. Hold on.
Yeah, of course. Rocky goes out saying as far as like making a
Rocky. Okay, so for Rocky, they have the octagonal thing that he was in. Hold on, I'll show you. So they have these. So the octagon thing that he was in there. See that?
Yeah, the octagon, not the octagon. You're thinking of different kind of octagon.
The cubicle with the octagon, whatever the fuck you call that. That's the popcorn, and then there's him right there.
And then there's like the World Engine from that angle.
And then there's this one, which I will be getting. That.
Like they just missed the perfect one. It's 7.
How much is this bad boy?
That looks about the. Is that like that looks about the size of like the actual astronaut helmet he has.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I think I might have seen this one somewhere, but I don't want to buy it. I've already bought the tickets, guys. I don't. Where's the bucket? I'll figure it out because I know my go-to theater probably. I mean, I saw this at AMC, but yeah, those are the buckets I've seen. I definitely want the helmet. I would grab Rocky too. And there's the Rocky plush, the shoulder buddy. You can just go right over your shoulder, so it's like a little backpack. I hope it makes a lot of money. There's a lot of risk in this movie that you just don't see good movies take anymore.
With how it's opened and like with the reception it's gotten, I do think it's fair to call this probably the first major blockbuster of this calendar year.
Yeah, because we're in what are we? Yeah, we're only in March. We're barely midway through March. Our summer for here in Vegas because it's like gonna be like
I already feeling the summer.
By the way, the last day of winter was fucking Friday. It was 97 degrees Friday. So
and I was also looking up for getting your hour back later this year. And I'm not fully clear on this, like, daylight saving time ends November 1st. So does that mean like Halloween night? That's when we judge the clocks again? Like a few hours past like midnight on Halloween?
Okay, because we only got like 4 months of actual decent time because we started this in the end of October, which was November 1st. But I remember that's when the Dodgers won the World Series. So you kind of get screwed because if it's not until November, you get more under this daylight savings bullshit than you do under the normal time, normal standard time. I want us to fall back and stay back. I don't. Why the hell would I need 3 more hours of sun when the sun basically bakes my cells? Why would I need that? I don't see that. But hold on, let's see when this shit is, because it will be counting down. So you have it's gonna be. Oh yeah, it'll be because Saturday is wow. Okay, so this is the second year in a row that Halloween will be. No, Halloween was on a Friday last year, because I remember that was
Saturday this year.
So Sunday, it will still be the same thing, because the first will be Sunday. So yeah, it'll still be instead of So we got a while. I can't even think about that now in the midst of this inferno. But you know what? I'll take the inferno over the rain, even though I'm downstairs now and the roof won't be leaking on me. It's just I want my anti-rain dance to stay in effect. All right, 85 in Iowa and Idaho. I'm waiting for the Spider trailer in the theater. Yeah, I saw the Spider-Man trailer. It didn't do anything for me because it didn't need to. See, Spider-Man is one of those things I can't really get excited about certain trailers because I'm already in.
Well, like you said, like Sony is like Spider-Man's a big cash cow. It's like with every trailer, they're daring you not to show up.
Well, and plus the last Spider-Man movie didn't let me down. The last Spider-Man movie was I don't. There's nothing in the trailer. Now, yeah, granted, I'm not a big fan of the premise of the man spider thing. I think it's stupid, but they're better at writing these things than I am. So
I'll tell you this: if that's what they're doing, you're gonna see toys about that. You're definitely gonna see man spider action figures if that's what they're doing.
I mean, I could care less about that story in any format. I waited all these years to get Spider-Man, and you're going to give me this, but that's fine. I mean, who knows? I don't think it's the entire movie. I think there's other aspects of the movie that will come together. I do not think Sadie Sink's character is Jean Grey, and I've seen nothing that guarantees me that. I've just seen a bunch of people tell me it's Jean Grey.
Another thing I was thinking about too, like looking back at the trailer, because obviously there's been some amount of like time passage since the ending of No Way Home.
4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years, and so the scene with him with Punisher when he swings over to and he's calling him Frank. He's like, he's on a first name basis with Frank. I mean, that suggests to me that they're, and I don't know how much they're gonna go into this in the movie, but that suggests to me that they're not meeting for the first time in Brand New Day. Like he has had prior.
He's probably but keep in mind, Spider-Man does that. Spider-Man does that.
True. Yeah, it's his quippiness.
Plus, Frank Castle's identity has always been public. He's never had a secret identity. You know who the Punisher is.
Yeah,
he's wanted.
I mean, with Daredevil, that's my big curiosity, especially because like he knew him as his lawyer in the previous one. So like, how's that? Like, how long has he known Daredevil at this point?
He's known him since. Well, he's known him as a lawyer as far as Spider-Man goes. He would only know him as Spider-Man because of the spell. So
so like how and of course there's that question too, like the how he's rebuilt his life. Who he's obviously he's tiptoeing up to like reintroducing himself to Peter to MJ and Ned. So like how much has his social circle grown? I mean, like the Avengers, like he was an Avenger for a while. It's like now everybody, and that's the key thing about spells. Like it's making everybody forget Peter Parker. That doesn't mean it doesn't mean
everything that happened to Spider-Man happened. It's just that they don't remember Peter Parker aspect.
Like is in their like their like rejiggered memory that he was an Avenger, but like no, did he just like never take his mask off? Is that how they remember it now?
No, he could have taken his mask off for the whole movie. They just won't remember that part. They will only remember Spider-Man. They will not remember anything that's attached to those memories are gone.
So, and then all that, like, how does this lead into his role in Doomsday and Secret Wars? And
I don't think this does. I don't think the spells and all that do. I think he individually will obviously be there, but I don't think this story necessarily is attached in any way to Doomsday. I think you'll be a post-credit scene, and then
And then there's also like which we're getting, seeing, the first couple episodes of Daredevil Born Again dropping this week. So like how this Tuesday. So how is that going to like factor into this? And the other thing too, you weren't so crazy about this one shot, and I actually really dug at the shot where he's like swinging down, and we see a close up of his face inside the mask. And the reason why I kind of flash back to, I know it's gonna annoy you with like Iron Man, like the whole Iron Man connection, but I remember one interview Robert Downey Jr. gave where he talked about he was asked like what's the hardest scenes, or it's something like what were the most difficult like things or the most demanding things to film as Iron Man. And he said the hardest ones were always the close-ups of his face inside of the helmet. And I found that very interesting. Maybe it's because like the camera's got to be just like that far away from him at all times. I don't know, but
I just never thought it might. I mean, people are like, you don't like that Spider-Man helmet thing, William? What are you? You don't like Spider-Man? No, he's not wearing a helmet. He's wearing a mask. Tony Stark is actually wearing a legit helmet to where that kind of shit would be relevant. I have never needed. And the cool, unique thing about Spider-Man is when he puts on that mask, he's every man. He's every one of us who thought about swinging around. I don't need to see Peter Parker's face and his They do a good job with the mask and the eyes where I can see the emotion. I don't need to see Peter when he puts on that mask. He's Spider-Man. And
by the way, this suit is like, again, it's I really like the design of the suit. It's and it's interesting because it's again pretty close to like his the first suit he gets from Tony Stark, but obviously it's not going to be like the high tech features with it.
No. That there are many differences to that suit. That suit's the eyes are different. The black, there's black. This is bright blue. The spiders on both the chest and the back.
But that's what I mean. It's like this is like there's no the eye. He's not going to have like the AI support. He's not going to have you're talking about just by function or by look? Yeah, by function, and a little bit by look, but function. Like this is like this is something he created with a sewing machine.
Which is how Spider-Man should have always been.
This is not like he pushes the little spider emblem and it just vacuum seals him into it which I actually kind of dug that in that first suit up in the alley in the Homecoming where it's like he puts it on, it looks like a Halloween costume, and then he pushes the spider emblem and then it just form fits right to him.
I have not heard of Mr. Negative. I've only heard rumors of Mr. Negative.
Well, like the villain is a Tombstone. It's like villain.
The Tombstones is you can hear his voice. You hear his voice in it. He's the one talking.
The only confirmed villains are Scorpion and the Hand.
Well, Doomsday is listed as in the cast, so he's there. Jerome,
who's playing him?
I don't think, but I heard his voice. That's his voice when he's talking about the 3 stages of the. That was him. Yelena, I don't think Shang-Chi's going to be in this movie. I don't think Yelena or Mr. Negative is going to be in this movie. And if they are, it's like a second. I think they're going to do that.
The only like other heroes are against Punisher, Bruce
Who's
Banner.
Not a hero.
Yeah, that's the only good guys. Let's put it that way. Are Punisher. Bruce, I don't think we're going to see him as the Hulk, but Bruce Banner and again, who are you kidding?
Who I think is only in the movie.
Yeah, he's probably
to explain that to him. And I think Daredevil is going to be in that fight with the Hand.
Yeah, he pops in for a fight scene. That's where he's.
Yeah. But I think I hope that they approach this movie like I hope Daredevil season 2 approaches Daredevil. If you're going to have these guys in here, just remember who the title character is. That's what people come for. And Spider-Man has had a problem with that sometimes. So even if he is the title, like Far From Home, he's still in that whole Avengers Junior status, which I fucking hate. So I'm happy to see him. Even with the Man Spider nonsense, I'm happy to see Spider-Man being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and not reliant on every single people. Going to Bruce and asking for a scientific and biological advice, that's fine. It's the same thing he would do with Reed Richards because Reed Richards was the only one that he could have that kind of conversation. Because remember, Peter Parker's a genius level. I mean, he designs all of that stuff. The webbing, all that is his. He's a genius level. So people forget about that.
No webbing.
Which is fucking dumb, but yeah.
But I mean, that's comic. I mean, that's they implemented that.
Okay, guys. Just because it's in the comic, like I said before, doesn't mean you have to put it everywhere. There are some things that work in the comics that don't work anywhere else. There are some things that work in a movie that don't work anywhere else. Sometimes those Venn diagrams cross each other. But just because, well, they did this just like Shuri was Black Panther, just because that you're not writing a comic book. At the end of the day, no matter what is influencing your genre, it is still a movie. It is still a TV show. You are still catering to 98% of the people who will never, much to my chagrin, ever read those comics. So when you're making a movie, making a TV show, you're making a movie, you're making a TV show. If you don't one for one,
4 movies with a Peter who has organic web shooters.
But that's not really based on what you're talking about, though.
What I'm saying is that the with or without Man Spider is like, again, there's cinematic precedent for him having organic web shooters.
But those aren't those movies. We're not doing the Tobey Maguire movies. We're doing the Tom Holland movies. All right, we've developed Tom Holland aside from Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. So what they did in those movies were great for those movies. We're not making those movies. So that precedent is meaningless. You gave him his own suit. Make him have do his web, but just because comic accurate is great. I'm a comic guy, but I understand that we're not writing a comic book. Brand New Day. I'm not going to see Brand New Day to come. I'm going to see Spider-Man in a movie. There's a difference, and I think we don't really appreciate those differences enough. There are times when it happens, and it's fine. But sometimes people just think, they automatically assume, well, this happened new, we have to put it on. No, you don't. And half the times when they put it on the screen, it's not even a 1-for-1 adaptation. They do their thing in name, and they do whatever the hell they want to. And that's really what you should do. You're basing this movie you're making on these characters. But I don't need you to base on any. You know what? Kraven's Last Hunt is one of my favorite Spider-Man stories, right? I never need to see that on screen. I don't think they should. I don't think they need to adapt anything like that on screen. I don't, just because it was great, J.M. DeMantis, Mike Zeck storyline does not automatically mean that needs to be, let's do a Kraven's Last Hunt movie type of deal. I mean, could you? Sure, but that's not a rule. Just the same thing with the Green Lantern. My interpretation of comics has nothing to do with Damon Lindelof's perception of the show. Damon Lindelof is not making a comic book. He's making a show. And then the other notion of when we were getting on this last week, someone saying, and I really disagree with drawing a blank because the show should have been over by now. Grant Morrison. I don't even agree that you need to love comic books to make that. You need to love movie making. You need to love telling stories, but if you're a great writer, producer, director, and I gave you a comic book IP, you're probably going to be able to do it because your job is to tell stories in that medium. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of making that an automatic rule. If it works out, fine, but if you don't force it, and I think sometimes these things are forced. William, you'll mention not yet. I'm not ready to, but we will. Trust me. Let's see. I like to Clint is singing a Spider-Bad theme song. Just cast here. Yeah, but your reason for that is because you're into the fluff turtles. I can't. We're not having the same conversation. I'm sorry. And even when they adopt The Last Ronin, because I don't know how as an audience going to hang around for the kiddie turtles. I mean, how old are we now? If they didn't adapt that 1-for-1, I would be fine. If they use that as a basis of their story and they gave me something else, I'd be fine with that because I've read The Last Ronin as a comic book. I don't need to see a 1-for-1. in the theaters if that's what the director chooses not to make. But if it came down to seeing The Last Ronin or more kitty turtles, I'm going to go with The Last Ronin because you've had 35 years of kitty turtles. Those kids that sat down with their Cheerios and watched that kid shit back in the late 80s, early 90s, they're in their fucking 40s now. You're feeding your built audience baby food. That's how I feel about that. Not a popular opinion, but I don't care. It doesn't have to be here. It's my show. Not The Last Ronin. How about that? I'll make it easier for you. Off topic. Of course, we're sort of spiraling right now. Anyway, to wrap it up. Did you see the shot of Wesley? And yes, I did. I say he's on the phone in the car. It's the go ninja go shit. That stuff. That the ooze and all the other.
Oh, you mean the best fight scene in the whole franchise?
Okay, once again, you're setting these bars low and thinking it's special.
I need the buzzer right now.
You're setting the bar low and thinking it's special.
I need the buzzer, guys.
I want to see Spider-Man as a man. I'll wait for new casting. Holland. Well, he's a man. Damn, Tom Holland is 30.
Yeah,
he's a man.
He just looks like he's still in high school.
He's got a job now. He's going to college. He's a grown-ass man here. So this should be Spider-Man. That's what I've been waiting for too.
He's turning 30 like a month before the movie comes out.
William, I think Brad was trying to agree with you when it comes to comic accuracy. When it comes to Spider-Man having Regretted William, he doesn't have that in the comics. No, he does. He does. He has that during the storyline in the comics.
They introduced that also like after the Raimi movies with the organic web shoes and Raimi movies. That's when they kind of started working. I mean, they've gone back and forth since then with like the organic and the mechanical ones, but that's.
Is he married? Did they get married?
The Zendaya, yeah.
I know they were engaged, but I don't know if they had the wedding yet. It's like 10 feet shorter than him. Jesus Christ, people. Fuck. I mean, if you listen, guys, if you had 35 years of fluff, I'm happy for you. I'm not angry at you. I'm happy for you. But that doesn't mean that we can't get stories that are actual Eastman and Laird type situation stories. You had your fluff. You were fed. You've got fat at the table. My ribs are showing because I've been waiting since Vanilla Ice and Turtles were dancing on the same screen, and I took everything I had not to throw up on my own mouth. I endured all that. I can't get a story like, late 80s Turtles, pre-cartoon Turtles. I can't get a story like that now. All I get is the safe Turtles. You're feeding the 40-year-olds the same shit you fed them when they were 3 and 4 and 5 years old. If you fed baby food to your 40-year-old friend, he's going to look at you like you're crazy. That's basically what you're doing here. So that's how I feel. You can hate me in the comments all you want. I'm not budging on that. Don't care. Yeah, Tom Holland is very short, especially his wife is like 5'11". Well, hey, Slipknot, I don't like the 1990 movie, so you're a better man than me.
No, 2 is the best of all of them. Sorry.
Yeah, you are. Sorry, I don't think.
It is. I'm sorry. Like,
there's a problem. There's a reason for that. Fourth. There's a reason for that because they cut it up into small pieces for an audience that it was really not really meant for it. The Turtles you're thinking of, maybe, but the Turtles in general, I would bet no. I'm going to go ahead and bet against that. I'm going to bet that the people who are hardcore Turtles fans during the fluff era have grown up and they demand more out of their IPs than the stuff you gave them as kids. You got it. Your product needs to grow with your customers sometimes. I'm not saying stop making the fluff, but it should not be to the exclusion of other stories, other Turtle type stories. No, IDW. We're talking about theatrical and other media. I know IDW. IDW still is great. And even one that they did with the Power Rangers, which I thought I was going to hate. I ended up liking it. No, I'm talking about the adaptations that have made it on the screen and made it into other media. I will die on that hill. I don't care. And you guys don't know how much I hate I get when people are tagging. Really, you don't think Batman? You don't like Batman the animated series? You're a Satan worshiper. No, I'm not. I didn't say that. I don't like the influence of Batman the animated series or X-Men '92. I thought that was if your body wasn't meant to take the solid foods, eat the baby food till you are. Don't change my meal because you can't digest it. That's what I thought those two things. I as quality wise, I thought it was fine, but it to me, once you slap the labels like X-Men and Batman on them, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for X-Men and Batman when I see those things. I just didn't feel like those were it. And when it comes to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I said, I crossed over from the Daredevil that influenced those things to the comic book, and it was a direct crossover as far as the tone goes. But they couldn't, and I understand why it happened. They couldn't sell that to the kiddies. Could not sell it to the kiddies. But okay, fine. Give me my hardcore stuff, you know? It's a mixed bag, so enough. It's a mixed bag. Cow boomers, no. But the generation that started out with Go Ninja Go and that stuff, they're in their 40s now. I'm not fucking around. Those people are in their 40s now. Their entertainment tastes are different than they were when they were sitting in front of the TV in diapers. First movie, that movie is just. Ugh. This would be as in there. Oh, and that would have been a huge mistake. That would have been a massive mistake, and it's a serious problem because there are some segments of society that it's one thing to enjoy Michael Keaton's Batman for what it was when it was. That's it for me. After Batman Returns, I was okay, even though he ended up being great in The Flash. After Batman Returns, I was okay with him never putting on the cape and the cowl again. That was a time, and it wasn't something that I was really longing for again. But a lot of people are narrow-minded to the point where, it's Keaton or this guy or it's Bale or this guy. I'm like, I'm open to the next Batman, to be honest with you. I want the last run in live action and also still a cartoon version, both just like DC. I am okay with you getting your fluff. You should be okay with me getting my my last Ronin type. And it doesn't even need it does not need to be point per point. I want something in that tone of Last Ronin, because to me, the tone of Last Ronin was the logical progression of the stuff that came out when they were first coming out. You love bringing up you know I can't stand this man's name, right? I think you bring it up just to get my blood pressure going up. All right, William. David Ellison and his accounting team did the math and saw that the Last Ronin comics barely moved the needle, so they canceled the film once about. No, they what? You said this before, and I buzzed you then. So guess what? Rational. The books sold out immediately. Some of the best-selling Turtle stuff in 3 decades. They've held their value. They're in the 4th and 5th printings and hardcover. They if whatever needle they were looking at, maybe they were looking at the wrong dial, but the industry needle, and it wasn't like the other Turtle stuff was flying off the shelves, and they were making movies of those. Invincible, nobody knew what that was. That wasn't flying off the counter. So they don't always make comic book IPs. Not everybody's Marvel and DC has a comic book IP that is the best seller. I mean, Turtle sells, and Ronin sold, but there's no way. I don't even think David Ellison knows his way to a comic book store, let alone his opening one.
And I thought on the topic, I was like, I don't know if you saw their stock.
Yeah, we'll get into
I,
that. We'll get
I,
into
I'm
that
really,
later on this
I'm
week.
getting dubious that this is going to move through.
I said this was going to happen. I don't need to be right about that. But no, they didn't. I think they canceled because if you're telling me that David Ellison knew what Ronan's numbers was, he didn't. Then there's no way that movie gets canceled. Two, I don't think it had anything to do with his numbers. You see, in order for math to be undefeated, you have to pay attention to math. And I don't even think it got to that point. I think that there are certain things with certain IPs, and I fear this for Star Trek, to where David Ellison is just going to go the safe route. Because that's what his investors and the people around him are familiar with. They have a surface knowledge of these things, and they are going to play it safe. And fluff is safe, unfortunately. So that's why I think, because if he's looking at the numbers, that would be like, somebody saying, you know what, we're not going to make an absolute Batman series, but, there's just no way. I know you're lying. If he would have told me that, and that's not what he said. If he would have said that we don't think the sales of Last Ronin were strong enough to make a movie, when I know what the sales of Turtles were when you made those last couple of movies, then I know he's lying. I don't believe the man anyway. I've already said this. I don't believe anything he has to say. But if he were to tell me that he based that decision, he were to come out and say, I based this decision based on comic book sales and about the Last Ronin, then I know he's lying. Because that's a provable lie. Because I can match it up with the shit that you're about to green light, and I know what the numbers are on those. Those are public numbers. So then I would know he's lying. To his credit, he didn't say that. I just think he's going to a safe route. Fluff is safe, unfortunately. It's a low risk. You cannot like the animated series and not be. According to people who come at me, though, it's like I am doing sacrilege, and then they try to give me. You don't like Kevin Conroy? No. Listen to my fucking words when I'm speaking, guys. I hate the influence that Batman the Animated Series had on the character going forward. I hate the influence that the 90s animated X-Men cartoon had on the expectations of X-Men going forward. And I do not like that being used as the bar of anything. It was a fucking cartoon. It is a bar for a cartoon. It is not the bar for the comic. It is not the bar for anything live action, in my opinion. And I think that those two IPs, how they were handled in the 90s and transformed in the 90s, set up the kind of arguments we have today where you get the people coming up, how come Batman's always brooding and he kills and he does this? And what's the first thing I ask him? Well, what's Batman you're talking about? Well, in the animated series, and then I don't have a buzzer with me when I'm talking to them in live action in the middle of a Walmart or at a Starbucks. I don't have the buzzer, but it's in my mind. I hear it ringing. I hear that sound. I hear that air raid siren. We ain't talking about the cartoon. We're talking about a movie. We're talking about TV shows. We're talking about the source material. It's okay if you love that stuff, but when you start bringing that to the conversation as your reference for how things should be going forward, that conversation is over as far as I'm concerned. We can have a conversation of the quality of the animated series within the parameters of what it is. Kevin Conroy, great job. Mark Hamill, great job. Animation style was great. The blimps that begin to stylistically great. But when we start having a conversation about how these things should be referred to going forward as Batman, we are talking about two different chemicals there that do not go together. That's how I feel. All right, where are we at here? I don't know. I'm kind of frightened. If he's going in the direction that he sounds like he's going to, I'm going to pass. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, I could do a Logan. Logan was fine at R-rated, and we still got a Logan in Deadpool and Wolverine, and we're going to get him again. I mean, people are all right. I mean, it's a la carte, guys. I know what you're thinking, Clint, but you know what I mean. God damn it. Yes, yes, absolutely. That is a perfect statement. Who are you talking to, Joga? I just sold a couple copies the other day, and people are selling me way more than. Who are you talking to? You said this about the first chapter. The entire story is brilliant. I don't know. I don't know who you're talking to, and who nobody is. Okay. When it is used in as the framework to make an argument against modern versions of those characters or the source material version of those characters, because in order to make a cartoon in that era, you had to make it suitable for an audience that the character had grown beyond, if they were ever for that audience to begin with. Yeah, somebody fucked those up. Open panels. Remember me moving? Remember me? I'm sorry if life happens, guys. Sorry. But it's not. That's fine. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not telling you guys. You got your soft core. You have it. You have years of it. I'm happy for you. Where's my heart? Where's my Ronin? Am I ever gonna get that? I'm at the table too. I want some grown-up food. I don't want no Gerbers. Come on, man. But yeah, you're right. But it's not early Turtles, and it's not, the Ronin stuff. Oh, dude, Killing Joke is iconic. Killing Joke helps set the stage for a lot of different things. I don't know about that one.
Never get the pants though.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna forget. You're creepy. That is one I'm not gonna forget. That you're creepy. After I was up damn near 40 straight hours being killed by my hotel.
The camera. Oh, the center. Hi, Brad. And Reyes sounded exactly the same.
What? When I come from Hall H to give you guys content from one of the better Hall H performance or presentation words, that's what you focus on. Not that I'm half dead, going the extra mile, eyes swollen shut. I looked like shit on that show. I felt like shit on that show. I was on a full adrenaline. I hadn't even eaten yet. I had so much caffeine in me, I thought I was going to collapse. Rhea was worried. Actually, you asked Rhea about how I look, because I was hitting shots.
Rhea wasn't much more lively.
Yeah, she was not as caffeinated as me, though. I did 2 7-shot espressos at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning on Hall H Day, and that's where my limits were. I thought my eyeballs were going to jump out of my head and go back to Vegas. My heart was racing, my body was like, and it was all fake because there was no sleep. It was caffeine replacing sleep. And then watching Rhea curl up into a little ball and go to sleep, I couldn't, because I was watching the line. And I knew if I went to sleep, I knew if I crashed there was going to be no getting me up. I don't care if Tony Stark was in there. I don't care if Robert Downey Jr. came over and said, "Hey, the line's moving." I was not going to get up.
That line moved fast. I was moving. Oh,
yeah. Once it moved fast, yeah.
I swear, if you will this bullshit into existence, because that's what happened. Ruth, that's how this movie got greenlit. Ruth was in the comments saying, "Hey, Brad, it's like Scary Movie 6. That'd be like awesome, wouldn't it?" It's like
I miss my Scotty.
But I'll let it slide because I like Ruth. But
that I wouldn't mind this. Wouldn't mind this at all. I'm not one of those guys who's like, either or. I mean, I just give it to me, because you know what? Absolute Batman. I don't know who the fuck are you gonna get to play some of these characters, even with CGI.
Some of them are literally like too big to exist in reality.
So yeah, dude, man, Sam Keith. I wish Sam Keith could have had a chance to work on Absolute Batman.
Oh, by the way, I saw you quote tweeted the quote from Scott Snyder where he said like it was something about like it is as long as you until you guys stop reading Absolute DC, we're not going to stop making it.
I messaged him and I with that quote. I'm like, thank you.
Well, you quote tweeted with like all the smiley faces.
Dollar size, man. This is how you do business. There's no need for it. As long as the stories, as long as, and not only us reading it, as long as they are telling compelling stories. Don't be Ultimate Marvel.
What especially because you've got like whole Absolute DC section now, and like also you've mentioned like with the move downstairs, like you're expecting a 40% jump in business. So it's like,
yeah, and I've increased the size. I can show you guys pictures of the old Absolute section. The new Absolute section is almost twice the size, and it has a hardcover area.
Man, that would have like pissed me off if you were telling as far as like everything you had like the bureaucracy you had to go through to like, make the move happen. Like if I'm a business owner like and my data tells me okay if I move like 10 feet below me, my business is going to jump 40%, but X, Y, and Z is blocking me because that's when like asshole Brad comes out because it's like okay now it's like you guys because of this like my bank account is not where it should be because of this.
Yeah, asshole William was in the neighborhood, but you have to. These are sensitive negotiations, and it's not everybody's involved in it is working against you. There are just processes involved, things that have to be done, especially now that the county owns the building. It was a complicated process. A lot of reason why is because they had never done anything like this before. They have never owned the property. There's a lot. When I get settled in, I'll go through all the stuff behind the scenes stuff once I'm like,
well, again, some of it, I'm sure you're not going to go into because like William has kind of talked to me a little bit about like okay if he had to go to DEF CON 5, some of what he might have ended up having to do.
Yeah, or else I would have left the plaza. Part of it was me though too. Part of it was I had other opportunities. I had other places that I went and walked around and taken as a nuclear option. The biggest part is I've invested into that environment. I am part of that environment that exists there. And when it comes back, when it resurrects itself to when the county starts renting out to people, I want to be there. That plaza is home to me. I built the business. I've been in that plaza for the better part of 2 decades now in several different buildings. That's where I want to be. So when you want to be somewhere, you make it happen, even if there's obstacles in the way.
Kind of like Project Hail Mary, how that ends.
Pretty much.
But you mentioned before, like you do like also like 40% of your business during like the last, during the holiday season. So it's like if you're getting like a 40% jump generally, that's like I'd imagine like your holiday business that's gonna like really spike from
free comic book day. I mean it's everything. And I could go through the emails and the messages, and if you look at some of my public postings, you'll see there's customers that are saying, it's not that I didn't want to come to you, it's just I couldn't get to you, and it's that simple. I mean, and as somebody who has to climb those stairs, and I'm at full health, I'm in good shape, good health. The stairs are a motherfucker, man. So now you're talking about a whole family up there, and some people physically, Clint in the chat. Clint has worked with me. Clint can't get up those stairs. And there are people who have, and it's a lot easier when you had the elevator, it was easier. I think this is actually going to be a lot better than having an elevator because you don't have to walk to the elevator. You're right there. You see me. The impulse is to go in. See, when you're upstairs like that without an elevator, it's the impulse thing gets taken away. And I think that's for a lot. I will resume the watch parties when I am completely moved in. Right now, I just have to have priorities like Monarch. We're supposed to be doing Monarch. I will get to doing Monarch.
We got Daredevil coming up this week too.
We got Daredevil coming up. That's going to be easy because I will not be at the store when that happens. I'll be getting ready for WonderCon. By the way, I will be streaming from WonderCon on Saturday. I will be at WonderCon. I am going to hope I got to work it out because if we haven't decided if I'm going to bring Scott Snyder on the show or am I just going to find him and get a quick interview there. I would love for him to be on the show because I don't want it to be rushed. But all I'm guaranteed is 15-20 minutes anyway. So if I got to do it at Comic Collect, we did with Robert Meyer Burnett. So
that turned out to be pretty lengthy conversation you had.
Yeah, that ended up being an hour. So I will get with him there. I finally got a copy for myself of Absolute Batman #1 and the Ash Can. It is one of the few things that I bought that I will not go into the store. That is once I get those, they will be in the store, but they will not. They will be, if I stream from the office, you'll see them behind me, but they will not be going on the shelf. That Galactus popcorn bucket is going to go in the office too, because people keep asking me about that, and my wrestling belts are going to go in the office too. So, but I haven't decided where I'm going to finally stream from in the store yet. I got to figure that out. But yeah, when we get probably after WonderCon. Now, WonderCon, I will be doing our show from WonderCon. I will be doing the Saturday show. If I have not decided to fly back that night, depending on how things go. I will be doing. I want to do the show from WonderCon because I'm going to WonderCon as press. So I should cover WonderCon as press. So I'm going to be covering some things that I'm not usually into because I'm there, and I might as well. But for the most part, until we are completely, everything is completely set up to the point where it's just small adjustments. Like all those shelves you see, all those comics on there are wrong. They're the kind of comics that are going there, but they're out of order. I just threw them up there to get my levels right, to get my balance right. The Absolute section, it's all Absolute comics that you see there, but they're not in the order that they will be in. Once I get everything structurally bolted in, and it's just a matter of me rearranging stuff, then I can start dedicating a couple hours. But the Saturday night show is the biggest show it's the most inclusive show that we do, and I haven't had a chance to do those the last 2 weeks because it's just a matter of
you're like you said, you're just on a roll, like getting from point A to point B. So,
and there's only a couple of days during the week where I can spend that much time without overlapping with anything else. So I have to take advantage of them. So, but we'll get back to those. Don't worry. The Turtles have had 6 live action movies and basically the same format. Yeah. And then that last one with the cartoon wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. And we're getting, more of that.
He didn't die. And it was actually a third bunk. I was actually on the top of 3 bunks. There was a person at the bottom, and there was a person in the middle. And I woke him up. I felt it because you can feel. Well, no. He did not wake up when it started to snap. I reached around and shook his bunk and said, "Dude, I need you to go ahead and slide out." And he was incoherent because he was in a dead sleep. And I'm like, "Hey, I need you to roll out of your bed. This bunk is breaking, and there's sharp wood headed at you." And then he woke up, and then I could feel him slide out. And then when I heard him out, then I moved, and I knew as soon as I moved that it was gonna be bad because I'm 250. That bed should have been able to hold me, but I realized that it was not going to, and it completely. And you guys saw the picture. As I turned over, it completely V-lined, and I had to grab the roll, pull myself out. I called that hotel management or the people who set that up. I went completely fucking off on them. And they're like, and I'm like, where do I go right now? There's nowhere I can go to sleep.
I'm tired. They're lucky when you warn that dude. They don't have like a wrongful death lawsuit on their hands.
Yeah, I told them I could sue you guys right now. I could have fallen out of that bed. I could have killed somebody. And they're like, oh well, and I'm like, okay, fuck it. Where do I go now? Oh well, we don't have anywhere for you to go right now. And I'm like, well, so when am I supposed to walk San Diego for the next 7 hours? Not realizing that I would fucking walk San Diego for the next 7 to 8 hours. That was a joke. That was not what's supposed to become the reality. And they're like, well, we're going to work on it as soon as possible. We're going to give you a call as soon as possible. And I'm like, well, by the fucking time you guys do that, I'll be in Hall H line. So we had already set ourselves up at Hall H because we had already gotten our wristbands. It's a happy time. We were on Vodka Stream. Me, Ray, and Phil was with us, and we're like, we got our bracelets and everything. We're like, hey, cool. And they went back to their places. I'm heading back to mine. I'm on the vodka stream a little bit more, waiting for my food. I eat. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired, and I'm contemplating how early do I want to get up because people are saying, well, if you get up at 5, you can get on the line, and then they rearrange the line. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that, and then because this was a pretty big Hall H, and so I'm lying in the bed. While I'm contemplating what time I'm going to get up and tackle this and maybe be the first bait down there, and then having Rhea take over, and then we go throughout the con, which is what we were doing. we were taking each other's places so that we could have joined a con. While I'm thinking that, I remember that's where that thought ended. And I'm like sinking, and I'm like, wow, this bed's not really comfortable. Not comfortable at all. So I start to turn around and maneuver myself because I'm thinking, hey, it's a bed. A bed should hold a person. And I start sinking, and I'm like, okay, this is not good. I'm sinking pretty low. And then I said, well, maybe I need to move to the side of the bed. And then as soon as I did that, that snapped completely.
Yeah, it should be metal.
And
yeah,
it should all be metal. It should all be metal.
Every time we hear the story from one, it's like, you know what it was? You were sleeping in that bunk bed from Step Brothers. That's what it sounds like to me.
Which a movie that I never ever see.
Well, you've seen like the clip where like they put the two beds up, and then one of them jumps up and then collapses on the other guy.
Yeah, and granted, I've been in an army bunk bed. I've been in the most uncomfortable military sleeping situations you can ever imagine. None of them were a threat to me like this one was. So I get out of there, and then I'm like, and I took pictures of it. I took tons of pictures of it. And I sent them to the people. Are you out of your fucking minds? You're going to refund me. Not only are you going to refund me, you're going to find me a new place. Or else I'm tagging you. I'm tagging your competitors. I'm tagging everybody. I'm going to get something free from somebody because somebody's going to say, hey, William, why don't you come stay with us on the house? Fuck those guys. And they'll use me as a commercial. But they're like, no, and the initial person, just remember, guys, when it comes to customer service, never rely on the first stooge you reach. Never make that the last person you talk to. Never accept what stooge number one says, because stooge number one is a stooge number one for a reason. And when you want to talk to the manager and they give you that one that just makes my head boil, he's just going to tell you the same thing. Go fuck you. You know why? Because if you could tell me what the manager above you could tell me, then you would be him instead of the bottom level stooge. So get me to that guy. And once I got to that guy and I sent them the pictures, it was a moment of silence. They couldn't believe it. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, they said, well, we don't have any places. It's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We don't have any places that we can do it, but we're going to work on it. So that joke that, what am I going to do? Walk around the gas lamp district? Dude, I memorized that fucking gas lamp district. I went up and downtown. I went across that bridge. There was not a Starbucks open until like 4:30 in the morning. So I kept walking past that motherfucker. And as soon as it opened, I was their first customer. I mean, I memorized. I've been to San Diego downtown many times, but I memorized places because I kept walking around there. And then because what I went and did is I went down, and if you go to Hall H, there's a lawn area that they stage you in after you get your wristbands. And then they move you into this maze thing when they start to open up. So there was a bunch of people that we had already met. Me, Ray, and Phil had already met that we recognized them. So I got in with them, and they held my spot. And I was like, you guys need any coffee? Need anything? No, because I couldn't. They were sleeping on, and I'm like, I can't do this. And so I'm walking over Gas Lamp District, looking at stuff, thinking about what decisions I made to end up here. And then I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can stay up. And I realized just how long. It's only like 3:30, and I realized how long this day was gonna be. So I went to Starbucks as soon as they opened up. I was there. They turned the keys. I'm like, how long is it gonna take you to get open? And 15 minutes later, and I probably claim as close to self-inflicted death as I've ever come, because I'm like, fuck it. I feel like I'm dead right now. I need to be brought back to life. I need to be resurrected. I need to be reanimated in some inhumane way. Give me 7 shots. The lady looked at me, and I'm like, not just 7 shots, 7 shots per frap. I have a picture of those fraps. Those fraps don't even look like something that came from dark. Those fraps look like nuclear energy cores. They had an unnatural cover, and I chugged those motherfuckers down. And once that hit me, I was still tired as all fuck, but it was like my body was going places that it just knew it needed to be. I fell asleep standing up. It was crazy. And then we go to Hall H, and not all the panels I'm into. They had Abbott Elementary panel. Like, what the fuck is this? Or some other panel for something like that. So I'm trying to stay away. Now, during the Star Trek panels and all the stuff I'm in, I'm open. My eyeballs feel like, they feel like they're stoned, but I'm up for these. And then the big comic book ones don't, they're down, your DC wasn't there. They should have been. DC wasn't there, and Marvel had Fantastic Four. They had Robert Downey Jr., so that was the last thing of the night. And around 1 o'clock, I get a call from the people who tried to collectively kill me hours before, and they set me up. You guys saw it. They set me up in a hotel room with liquor cabinet. The key, I got the keys to the liquor cabinet that you usually have to pay. I don't drink liquor. I mean, there's no soda in there. That's fine. I think there was a Canada Dry or some shit in there. I drank that, and they gave me a food voucher. Because they just gave me a food voucher to go anywhere I want to. I went to Jack in the Box and got 2 meals, and you guys saw me eating that day. And then I can't, but before I did that, I'm like, let's, now that I'm here, I tested the bed. They had the massage bed with the warm shit on. Dude, if I may not get up tomorrow, and I didn't. I did not get up until like 10:30. We were supposed to be up at 9, but I'm like, fuck it. I got on the stream with you guys, and I remember I don't know grumpy is the word for it, but I remember arguing with RJ about them the why we use RDJ, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And I was like, at some point that show ended. And I'm like, at some point I felt the end of my fuse. I'm tired, and I don't even know what I'm saying right now. And then Fourth is in the chat about the pants. I'm like, are you fucking serious, dude? I risked my life and the heart rate to bring you this content, and you're still, because all I did was I got in. I had I unpacked, I separated everything, put my shoes over everything, I put all my stuff that was getting time, and I threw the pants that I was going to wear the next day, clean set of pants that I was going to on the back of the door, and that's all that motherfucker can remember. Do you even remember what we were talking about doing that stream, Fourth? No. So yeah, that was memorable. We could make a movie out of that. Planes, trains, and automobiles without killer beds. But hey, yeah, I got that. She curled up in a little ball and just went to sleep. And I'm sitting there looking at her like, God damn it, because she had slept the night before. All right. That the slats were strong enough. Well, they couldn't support one. That's a brand new bed, too. Those beds were new. They were telling me, we just put those beds in. Well, you better need to take them out, because I'm not the lightest person you're going to have sleeping there. William, why did you get a room with a single? Oh, because I was upgraded. After I read them the Riot Act.
Yeah, you better be upgraded after that.
Yeah, I was upgraded. I was refunded for those nights, and I was upgraded because I told them, man, I'm gonna go everywhere about this. I'm like, this place tried to kill me. So no, I was upgraded. I mean, they had the TV, had all the channels and shit on there. Because I went to sleep after we did this show. I went and got some food with the voucher. I mean, I could have gone anywhere with that voucher. It was a big voucher, but I was like so tired. And the Jack in the Box was like, they put me, it wasn't in downtown San Diego, but it was just outside of San Diego. It was really nice. And as soon as I took my shower and everything else, and I went down in that bed and started fucking around with the controls, I'm like, I'm never leaving this bed. And it was like heated, and then it's like one of those things where you can control the sides. And I was so tired. It wouldn't have taken anything to make me go to sleep hard. But I was coming down with like some kind of cold that I caught at Comic-Con that year too. So I took some stuff. And then I was telling myself I was going to get up in the morning and go, to get, some autographs and stuff. And I decided not to. I stayed in that bed until about, because we were getting up early to get, be there when the doors open. The alarm kept going off, and that bed felt good. I mean, I was like, it was the right temperature. It had formed around my back. My back was all straightened out. I was like, man, they upgraded me good. To their credit, they took care of me. I had to go through an ordeal. I mean, I wish I didn't have to have been taken care of, but they did care of me. And I woke up the next day. It was Sunday, last day of the con. We were good. But yeah, that was every time I think about that, it was a 2024 con. I don't think about 2025's con that much. You know what? I hope that this year's convention is better than 2025, because I hope they looked at that con and decided to scrap a lot of that stupid shit that they did last year. So I will be there with Trauma as press. Got my little press badge from WonderCon. Even though Comic-Con just keeps it, I guess they want to see me at WonderCon. I think that's they want to think they don't take me seriously as an outlet. Well, you haven't been to WonderCon. Well, I covered your con for free. I mean, but so they said can we see some of the pictures and stuff you took from WonderCon? Well, I sent the person to WonderCon. I sent them all that. So and they want you to book one of their hotels too for WonderCon. I'm like, it's kind of pricey, buddy. And then you get in, but I always have a way in. So, but yeah, we're gonna go to. I'm going to a lot of conventions this year. I'm going to the Amazing Comic-Con that's here in Las Vegas. I'm going to WonderCon next weekend. I'm going to the Star Trek 60th in August, and I'm going to WrestleCon here in a couple of weeks, and any other wrestling event that happens because WrestleMania is here. So we're going to be a lot busier than we've been. But and add on to the fact that I will. I'm going to be a lot busier once we get the store open. So. I was in a hotel room by my own. Liquor's better. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I've drinking plenty of soda. I've never tasted liquor. All right, guys, that's going to be it. I don't know where the hell that half hour went. Won't be on the air tomorrow. What is we will do Daredevil Born Again. So we'll do that probably. What day is that week? Is that Tuesday or Wednesday?
First two episodes are Tuesday.
Okay.
Wednesday is the 10th birthday of the greatest gladiator match in the history of the world.
What? Meet the Spartans?
BVS. No, not Meet the Spartans.
All right, guys. I am tired, and this show usually wraps up around midnight, so we've gone an hour over. So hey, have a good start to your week. I only about maybe another week and a half of sporadic programming, and then we'll be back on our normal schedule, back doing our normal things, and just be patient until then. But it's dismantling one place and rebuilding it in another. No, even if it's just a couple 100 feet, is not easy. Yeah. So there you go. Okie dokie. Like, subscribe, share the gospel, share it to your friends, share the links, do all that stuff, and we will see you later on.